Powered by NairoBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Very good afternoon, Briller FM. 24 goals in 5 matches last Sunday in the Premier League. This afternoon, myself and my talented team of top reporters will try our very hardest to deliver you another goal fest. No promises, but what I can promise you is 4.5 hours of fantastic football action. Chelsea are in action. Manchester City are in action. They're both kicking off right now. We'll be across those grounds in just a few moments' time. We're also across 2 massive matches in the German Bundesliga. Can Bayer Leverkusen go 5 points clear? That's right, 5 points clear at the top. Bayern were blitzed 5-1 in Frankfurt yesterday. We're also featuring Lyon, bottom of the French Ligue 1. Just 1 win all season. They're on to the 3rd manager already as from today. Can they get the better of Toulouse? Quickly down to the action. 3 big Premier League matches have just kicked off or are just kicking off, and we've got some great action to get our teeth into right now. Plus, of course, in Germany, Stuttgart against Bayer Leverkusen. Let's start at Kenilworth Road. Manchester City are not enjoying the best of runs of late. Here's Pep Guardiola, and he expects Luton Town to be very tough this afternoon.
You have to realize, no, it's difficult. It's difficult. And when you realize Luton, you won it. Wow, that is what in the good way, and give credit to that. It's no need just to win semi-final champions to be, oh, how good we are. No. And that in that moment is what we have done all the time. So give credit every game, satisfaction, we have done it. And we have to recover that. We have to recover.
Well, hopefully Pep's recovered. Hopefully he's got a waterproof on as well, because it's windy, it's raining, and at Kenilworth Road with his umbrella is Ash Sandiford. And Ash, there's some big team news for Manchester City, a big absentee.
Well, there's a massive absentee here. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Football Live listeners. It's a huge game in this Premier League match between Luton and Manchester City at Kenilworth Road. Massive news. Erling Haaland is out of today's game. Apparently, he has a bone injury, according to Pep Guardiola in his interview in the pre-match game. So, Erling Haaland does not start for Manchester City today. He is not in the matchday squad. 14 Premier League goals Erling Haaland had scored in 15 Premier League games this season. So, Manchester City will probably miss those goals. But Pep Guardiola were hoping for the other people in the team and players in the team to hopefully chip in with some goals. There's some changes for Luton from that 4-2 defeat, I should say, Arsenal midweek that they played. 3 changes for Luton. Tom Lockyer comes in for Gabriel Osho. Ryan Giles is in for Isa Kabore. And the marvellous Nakamba is in for Peli Rodok-Napanzu. Also, the English-born Nigerian Elijah Adebayo, he also starts up front. He scored 3 Premier League goals this season for Luton, as the full lineup is Thomas Kaminski in goal, Tejan Mengi at right back, Tom Lockyer, Amari Bell with Ryan Giles in midfield, with Nakamba, Bartley and Doherty on the left, with Jacob Brown, the ex-Crystal Palace midfielder Andros Townsend supporting that Nigerian-born Elijah Adebayo. As for Manchester City, there's been 4 changes from that game. They're welcoming back Rodri. They'll be very, very happy at the fact that Rodri has come back. Nathan Ake also comes in for John Stones. And ex-Chelsea midfielder Kovacic is also in for Manuel Akanji. And Jack Grealish replaces Erling Haaland. So the full lineup for Manchester City is the reliable Ederson in goal, with Garvio, Ake, Diaz and Kyle Walker at the back. Kovacic and Rodri sit in the middle, with Jack Grealish out to the left, Phil Foden at the right, and Bernardo Silva just supporting Julian Alvarez. It's about 4 minutes in, or 2 minutes in, I should say. It's Luton 0, Manchester City 0.
Thank you very much, Ash. Well, Goodison Park is where you will find Chelsea this afternoon. Mauricio Pochettino just knows how tough Everton are going to be.
It's going to be really tough, but they were doing a fantastic season until that happened. And yes, I know very well Sean Dyche, and always, admire him because he achieved with Burnley, a different club also. And yes, it's going to be tough because it's like the feeling is that it's so unfair. They were treated so unfair. That is the feeling that they have. And of course, when you feel like this, you feel freedom and nothing to lose.
And watching at Goodison Park this afternoon, Everton against Chelsea for Football Live. It's a very good afternoon to Richard Bond.
Good afternoon, Barry. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Goodison Park, where we just got underway into a fascinating match between 17th place Everton and 10th place Chelsea. We've had one chance of note in the first 5 minutes, and it's come to the visitors. Matej Mudryk, he took on Ashley Young on the left-hand side. He managed to get the ball free down the left, cut back to Enzo Fernandez, had a really powerful effort, quite low, testing Jordan Pickford, who had a bit of a knock from the other night, so it's the first test of the Everton keeper this afternoon. Right, back on to having a look at today's lineups as such. Well, Everton have only made one change from their win against Newcastle on Thursday night. It was a really impressive 3-0 victory. Seamus Coleman came back into that lineup after spending 7 months on the sidelines. He's replaced today by James Garner, who was out for that match with a cold. He returns today. Ashley Young going back into full-back with Garner going on to the right-hand side. So the full lineup is Jordan Pickford in goals, Ashley Young at right-back with Mikalenko left-back, Tarkowski and Braithwaite in the centre-halves, Doucouré and Gay in midfield, with a front three behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin of Garner, Harrison and McNeil. For the away side, we have Chelsea with Sanchez in goals. Reece James comes back in at right-back and takes the captaincy, with Mark Cucurella moving to the left. Diassi's partnered by Badashiel today, who replaces Thiago Silva. Caicedo and Fernandez in holding midfield roles. Conor Gallagher returns from suspension to play in midfield, with Palmer and Mudryk on the flanks behind Armando Broja, who gets the start today over Nicholas Jackson. We're about 6 minutes into play here. It's still 0-0 here. It's Everton 0, Chelsea 0.
Excellent, thank you very much for that, Richard. Moving on to our third match in the Premier League today, and that is at Craven Cottage. Shot-shy Fulham have suddenly turned into a goal machine. They take on London rivals West Ham at home today. The Hammers boss David Moyes feeling the love for both Fulham and their manager Marco Silva.
I think Marco Silva's done a great job getting them up, stabilising them. I generally think that Fulham are becoming a more... if it would be fair to say, a regular Premier League club, and they don't look as if they're going to be in any danger of getting relegated in any way. I think they've been competitive in the Premier League. I think they've got good players, and they're obviously going to be a club like ourselves at times, who you may have to sell at different times, and they've got that, but they've got some good players. But I think they've got a good manager, they really have, and I think he's been doing a good job over several years.
We've sent our wily tactician to watch this one. A very good afternoon to Pat Norett.
Yeah, good afternoon and welcome everybody. Good afternoon, Barry, as well. With 8 gone, still Fulham 0 and West Ham 0. And we had just had a free kick, actually. Ward-Prowse took it and goalkeeper saved it. They've got a corner now. But we've got to the teams. Fulham, of course, won their last game against Nottingham Forest 5-0. So they've got the same team as in their last game. With regard to West Ham, a couple of changes. Cresswell comes in from Emerson and Fornells comes from Alvarez. They, of course, won away to Tottenham 2-1. We're 8 gone, still Fulham 0, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much, Pat. Well, yesterday in the Bundesliga, few were expecting Bayern Munich to collapse in Frankfurt. They passed up on the chance to move back to the top of the table. They lost 5-1 against Eintracht Frankfurt. Xavi Alonso's unbeaten Bayer Leverkusen could go 5 clear this afternoon, up at the top of the Bundesliga. But flying high also are their opponents and hosts this afternoon, Stuttgart. This should be a fantastic game. And watching for Football Live, a very good afternoon to Richard Freckleton.
Good afternoon to you, Barry, here at the MHP Arena Stadium here in Stuttgart. It's a fantastic atmosphere of over 60,000 here. Looking forward to this top-of-the-table clash where, surprisingly, Stuttgart in third place take on also another big surprise, Bayer Leverkusen, who are currently ahead of the Bundesliga. It's a very strong teams that both sides have out here today, and they're in both great form, where Stuttgart have won their last 3 games, while Bayer Leverkusen are undefeated so far with 11 wins and just 2 draws. We'll quickly go through to the team. So Stuttgart, with manager Sebastian Hoeneß, very happy with the lineup he's got up here. He's got Nubel in goal. He's got Vagut Newman, Anton, Zagadou, Mittelstad in defence, Stiller, Karazor, Milot, Furic, and a very good attack in Undav and Garassi. Garassi, who has scored untold amount of goals, 16 goals so far this season. So they're very happy here, the Stuttgart fans, with the team they've got, and a chance to go ahead of Bayern Munich, who, if they win today, they'll go 1 point ahead of Bayern Munich. Bayer Leverkusen, as you said, Barry, they've got a chance to extend their lead, and Lonzo's team are just high flying. In goal, they've got Haradike, they've got Kosunu, Tapsoba, Frimpong, Xhaka. A lot of fans of the Premier League will remember Xhaka, who played for Arsenal, Palacios, Grimaldo, Wirtz, Adil, and Victor Boniface of Nigeria. And one to look on for on the subs bench is another Nigerian, which is Nathan Teller, who plays in midfield. I'm expecting some goals today, but which way it's going to go, it's difficult to say. But going by the head-to-head of the last 5 games, Stuttgart have yet to beat Bayer Leverkusen. 4 wins for Bayer Leverkusen with just 1 draw. So will that all change today? We'll have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to this game.
Thank you very much for that, Richard Freckleton. So that's got the 4 games covered in our earlier kickoffs later on this afternoon. Tottenham Hotspur against Newcastle United. Billy Andrews will be joining us a little bit later on with team news for that. We're also in the Bundesliga for Caen against Mainz. 2 teams desperately in need of a victory down at the bottom. And talking about strugglers, Alex Hughes will be watching Lyon against Toulouse. 2 teams down towards the bottom of the French League 1. Lyon are actually bottom. Paul Jones, by the way, is our reporter at Caen against Mainz in our second Bundesliga match this afternoon. We'll be at the Amex, at the Ryan Energy Stadium and the Groupama Stadium for our 3 featured matches later on this afternoon. We'll be back around the grounds in just a couple of minutes' time. We've played 10 minutes in the 3 games that are currently taking place in the Premier League. No goals between Everton and Chelsea. No goals between Fulham and West Ham. And Luton against Manchester City remains 0-0. We'll be around the grounds in just a few moments' time. Let's just quickly bring you bang up to date with what's happened so far today. Half-time in the WSL. It's Arsenal 3, Chelsea 1. That's a half-time score. Beth Mead firing Arsenal ahead. Joe Ritting-Kennard equalising for Chelsea. But the champions have faltered. Amanda Elistad and Alyssa Russo have scored for Arsenal. They lead 3-1 going in at half-time in that game, which is being played at the Emirates Stadium. Good result that would be for Arsenal if they could take the scalp of Chelsea. A big shock as well in the SPFL earlier. Kilmarnock 2, Celtic 1. Matt O'Reilly firing Celtic ahead before half-time. Nat Phillips with an own goal on loan from Liverpool, and Matt Kennedy with a late winner. Celtic, unbeaten in the league away from home since May, have been beaten, and they've been beaten for the 2nd time this season at Rugby Park because they lost there in the League Cup as well in August. In Ligue 1 in France, Nice 2, Reims 1 is a result. The Moroccan Younes Abdelhamid equalising for Reims, but no sooner as that ball hit the back of the net at one end, the Ivorian Jeremy Boga scored the winner for Nice at the other. Nice picking up all 3 points against 5th place Reims. In Serie A, 0-0 between Frosinone and Torino, 10th against 12th, mid-table clash. Less said about that one at the Stadio Benito Sturp, the better. And in the Pro League in Belgium, it hasn't got much better there either. Mechelen 0, Club Brugge 0, 10th against 5th there. That's early in the second half in that game. Go Ahead Eagles and Utrecht, 2 informed sides in the Eredivisie, met in the very early kick-off this morning. 5th place Go Ahead Eagles 0, Utrecht 2. Good result that for Utrecht down in 14th, but they are in really good form. 7 unbeaten, make that 8. And at half-time in Spain, the Atletico Madrid game against Almeria. No surprises here. Alvaro Morata and Angel Correa both scoring inside the opening 22 minutes. It's Atletico 2, Almeria 0 at half-time. Let's head around the grounds. Let's start at Kenilworth Road. A mismatch on paper, but Ash Sandiford with nearly 15 minutes played. Is it a mismatch on grass?
It's certainly not a mismatch in grass on so far. It's currently still Luton 0, Manchester City 0, and it's been a bit of a tactical battle, to be honest with you. Luton have really grown into the game over the last 3 or 4 minutes, starting to take a little bit of control on the back. But Manchester City do look so much better once Rodri is in the side. They have so much more control in the middle of the park. It was a little bit of an injury scare for Luton. Ted Mengi got himself looked like he'd done his ACL, to be honest with you. The way how he went, all his body weight just kind of transferred from right to left. He held his hands up in the air and the medics came on literally within seconds. But to be honest with you, a couple of minutes later, running and back to normal. So to be honest with you, nothing really much. Have no shots on target except for that earlier chance from Phil Foden. But quite even Stevens at the moment. It's currently Luton 0, Manchester City 0.
Ash, while you're there, let's stay with you just for a second. I mean, it is a mismatch. I always remember whenever someone says to me Luton Town against Manchester City, and I suppose you've got to be of a certain age, an old codger like me, back in 1982 when Luton needed to win at Manchester City, and they did. Radi Antish, the late Radi Antish, he was a lovely guy, by the way. I met him a couple of times. Scored the winner with 10 minutes to go. Manchester City were relegated and Luton stayed up. Very different days now, though, aren't they? And Manchester City without Erling Haaland today. I'm assuming Alvarez is taking up the forward position in his place.
Yeah, he's kind of taken up the central position in the middle of the park, to be honest with you. They're kind of playing with that kind of false nine situation because he's not an out-and-out striker, Alvarez. So he's kind of playing quite deep. But then he's expecting the runners like Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva to kind of get forward and help support Alvarez. And it's funny you were saying about the back in the day in 1982. This is the first meeting that Luton Town and Manchester City have had in the last 24 years. So it goes to show the difference in terms of the times and in terms of finances for Manchester City. So it's really, really, really different times. And Luton will be pinching themselves every day that they're in the Premier League. And you know what? They've really held their own in most games, to be honest with you, over the season so far. They've been in most games. You know, I think there's only 11 of their games out of their 15. They've only kind of lost by one goal. You know, or it's been one in it. So Luton are seriously holding their own, and they're going to have to really, really rely on their home form this season if they're going to keep themselves in the Premier League. But yeah, it's still about 14 minutes in. It's Luton 0, Manchester City 0.
Still haven't played that goal jingle yet this afternoon. Let's head to Everton against Chelsea, shall we? Catch up with Richard Bond. Richard's still waiting for that first goal. Any signs of a goal in that game?
Well, it's still Everton 0, Chelsea 0. We're about 15 minutes into play here, and Chelsea have looked the more lively of the two sides. They've had a good, strong effort from Cole Palmer, about 25 yards out, testing Jordan Pickford. That's the second save he's made this afternoon. So they've looked the more likely in the opening period. But Everton, more than holding their own at times. They look neat and tidy with their play, particularly down the right-hand side with returning Garner. He's been kind of having some good interplay with Jack Harrison. Nothing for Dominic Calvert-Lewin so far, though. Interesting enough, in this fixture, the last three games they've played have been 1-0, so it's bound to be potentially quite a close match yet again. Everton winning 2 of them and Chelsea winning 1-0 last year. If you do fancy a flutter, Everton are 7.50 and Chelsea are 7.50 for that 1-0 victory. So on odds from NairoBet, subject to change, of course. But, you know, we're in for a good game, I'm sure. There will be some goals. We shall see, though. Everton 0, Chelsea 0, 17 minutes played.
Thank you very much, Rich. There's been another goal in the WSL. It's now Arsenal women 4, Chelsea 1. A penalty in the 74th minute from Alicia Russo. Her second goal of the game at the Emirates, and Arsenal on their way to 3 points against the table-topping champions Chelsea. A bit of a shock there. Arsenal 4, Chelsea women 1. A shock in Scotland earlier. Kilmarnock coming from behind to beat Celtic for the second time this season. At Craven Cottage this afternoon on the banks of the Thames is Pat Norett. We're still looking for that first goal of the afternoon, Pat. Any signs of a goal between...
No, not really, but the possession-wise, I would say that 54 to Fulham, and then you got 46 to West Ham. But West Ham had 2 goal attempts, one by Bowen and also one by William. Sorry, by Bowen, also by Prowse. But at the moment, it seems to me what they're doing is Fulham are very good at holding to that ball, passing it, and Fulham are just West Ham are just dropping back, and a lot of what we call diagonal balls all the time. So as soon as they win it, it goes diagonal, either to the left-hand side, right-hand side. But with 18 gone, it is still Fulham 0, West Ham 0.
Still 0-0 in our 3 games in the Premier League. In the Bundesliga, they're just about to get underway in about 11 minutes' time. Stuttgart against Bayer Leverkusen. Really looking forward to that game as well. We've got Tottenham, Newcastle coming up later. Caen against Mainz and Lyon against Toulouse. Some fantastic football between now and the end of the show. Where should we go next? Well, I was going to mention actually quickly tonight's matches. The Inform Roma hosting Fiorentina in the Stadio Olimpico. And that's 4th against 6th. Fiorentina in great form at the moment. In France, Marseille, who have won their last 2, go up against strugglers Lorient, who have 1 win in 11 in the WSL. Manchester United take on Spurs, but all eyes will be on the game in Spain this afternoon, or this evening, in fact. The late kick-off is Barcelona against Girona in the Louis Companys Olympic Stadium in Barcelona, 2nd against 3rd. They really are the surprise package this season, aren't they? Girona, and that's going to be the ultimate test for them come this afternoon. Let's head back to Luton against Manchester City. Let's catch up with Ash Sandyford, who can tell us about a Manchester City opportunity in front of goal. Ash.
Yeah, currently still Luton 0, Manchester City 0, but it's great build-up play, I should say, from Manchester City again. Really, like I said, Rodri pulling the strings. And it ends up, Alvarez is just picking up that false 9 position just in between the edge of the 18-yard box and the halfway line. He's picking the ball up in really clever areas, and he's kind of linking up really well with Bernardo Silva. And what he's done this time is he's kind of popped it outright to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva's just kind of put it in the corner next to Kyle Walker, and Kyle Walker has popped it back to the edge of the 18-yard box. And Rodri's whipped it first time. It's literally, the goalkeeper's just tipped it round the post, but in the end he's caught the ball, so it looked like it was going round the post for a corner. He's actually caught it, so I think he got a little bit lucky with his handling skills there, the goalkeeper for Luton. But Manchester City are really starting to pile the pressure on as it stands, and like I said, Rodri and Julian Alvarez are really taking up some really quality positions just in the edge of the 18-yard box. So yeah, Luton have got their work cut out, but as it stands, 19 minutes in, Luton 0, Manchester City 0.
Thank you very much for that. I can tell you there has been a goal in the Premier League.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's gone to Fulham. Fulham 1, West Ham United 0. Fulham have lost 8 of their last 11 against West Ham, but they're bucking the trend, it seems, this afternoon. It's another goal. Well, he couldn't hit a barn door from 3 inches out up until about 2 weeks ago. But Raul Jimenez, 2 brilliant goals in the week against Nottingham Forest. He's gone and done it yet again this afternoon. Fulham 1. West Ham United 0. Raul Jimenez with the goal. It's still Luton 0, Manchester City 0. It's still Everton 0, Chelsea 0. Now is probably as good a time as any to catch up with our very own John Kane for all the very latest odds.
The latest in-play betting odds from NairaBet.
Yes, good afternoon. The latest odds from NairaBet. Of course, all these prices are subject to change. Let's start with the Premier League in the game that we've seen a goal at. Fulham are leading West Ham by 1-0 after 22 minutes. Fulham now are 1.44 for the win. The draw is 4.75, and West Ham, who've been on very good form themselves, are 7.0 to turn it around. 0-0 between Luton and Manchester City. Luton are 10.0 for the win at home. And the draw is 5.50, and Manchester City are still firm favourites with 1.33 to win that game. Everton-Chelsea, likewise, is still 0-0 there. Everton are 3.10 for the win. The draw is 3.10 as well, and Chelsea are slightly favourites in that game. They are 2.50. I can tell you, 61 minutes gone in Spanish La Liga. Betting is suspended because Almeria has scored a goal. So it's now Atletico Madrid 2, Almeria 1 is suspended at the moment. So I can't give you any update on that. In Italian Serie A, 21 minutes gone, it's Monza 0, Genoa 0. Monza has just gone up to 2.30 for the win. The draw is 2.88, and Genoa to win that game is 3.80. Just quickly, in the French League 1, Clermont against Lille is 0-0. Clermont are 4.75 for the home win. The draw is 3.30, and Lille to win that game are 1.91. Metz against Brest also 0-0. Metz has just gone down to 3.50. The draw is 2.88 and Brest are 2.40. Finally, Strasbourg are leading at home to Le Havre by a goal to nil. Strasbourg are 1.44, the draw is 4.20, and finally Le Havre are 8.50. Of course, all these prices are from NairaBet and they're all subject to change.
Thank you very much, John. Almeria have pulled one back against Atletico Madrid. Leo Baptistio with a goal just past the hour mark. Let's head off to Craven Cottage. Pat Narek can tell us all about our very first goal of the afternoon, and it's gone to Fulham.
Yeah, I can tell you it was coming actually. We're dominating and dominating. And actually fully managed to work the ball on the left-hand side. And Polina put on a wonderful cross on the back post. And Polina's rose, like a salmon always say, and bottom right-hand corner. So with 25 gone, it is Fulham 1, West Ham 0.
Well, it looks as though...
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Christmas time is for giving out presents, and NairaBet are giving away up to 91,500 Naira in free bets. To enter, just place a bet with the same number of selections as the day of the month. It is that easy. So on the 24th of December, if you place a bet with 24 selections, you will receive up to a 250% match of your stake as a free bet. Head over to www.nairabet.com to get involved today. Must be over 18. Minimum odds per selection of 1.2. Minimum total bet slip odds of 1.5. Qualifying bets must be settled on that specific day. General and free bet terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Football Live will be returning to Brila FM next Saturday afternoon when the Premier League will be in full flow once again. Chelsea are in action at Stamford Bridge against the bottom of the table Sheffield United. Newcastle United put their excellent home form on the line against Fulham. Champions Manchester City take on Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. And in Italy, Victor Osimhen is in action as Napoli take on Calgary. All that live football action to look forward to next weekend, right here on Brila FM on Football Live.
Around the grounds, chasing the goals.
A goal that is going to blow open the title race in the Bundesliga.
Well, this wasn't supposed to happen. It's been an unbelievable day here on Football Live.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
There's a goal, there's a red card, Josh Bailey is screaming. It's a nightmare cause Chelsea are losing again. Chris Baldwin is happy, John Kane it's off chappy. Happy Christmas to the listeners on Brila FM.
Merry Christmas from everyone at Football Live. Let's get back to the action on Football Live.
Hit it, boys.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Just a couple of minutes to kick off in the big game in the Bundesliga, which is, of course, Stuttgart against Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen would go 5 points clear with a win this afternoon for Xavi Alonso's side. Just one team with a goal so far in the Premier League. That's Fulham. They're leading West Ham by a goal to nil. We heard about that goal just before the break with Pat Norret. Still Luton nil, Manchester City nil. Still goalless at Goodison Park. There has been a chance for Everton. And to tell us all about it, it's Richard Bond.
Yeah, well, it's been all Chelsea so far in this first half an hour we've had at Goodison Park, but it was Everton who just had their first effort on target, and it was Jack Harrison. Lovely bit of play by Dwight McNeil on the left-hand side, winning a corner off, I think it was Cucurella. Ball came back in from McNeil, and it's half cleared by Benoit Badiashile. He's not done a great job of doing it. It's fallen to the edge of the penalty area. There's Harrison on the full volley, trying to swing a shot which is looking for that far right-hand corner. Sailed just past the post. Close stuff for Everton, but there has also been some interesting news from Chelsea. And it's Reece James, so look away now if you're a Chelsea fan, because he's gone off injured. Yet again, more fitness problems with him. Cucurella's moved to the other side, and Colwell's come on for him. So half an hour on the clock here. Everton 0, Chelsea 0.
Unbelievable. Another injury for Reece James. Every time they seem to get him back on the field, it just seems to keep picking up injury after injury, and it's another bout of bad news for Chelsea and for Reece James. Let's head back to Kenilworth Road, shall we? There's been another chance for Manchester City. Ash Sandiford.
Yeah, still Luton 0, Manchester City 0, but Manchester City did have a very good chance. Julian Alvarez kind of had a free kick. He kind of got bundled over, probably about 20-25 yards out, and I thought someone's definitely going to have a pop here. But they decided to take it short, and they just popped it around the edge of the box, probably for a couple of seconds. They ended up with Rodri, and Rodri just literally slipped it into Phil Foden. Phil Foden's literally had about 2 or 3 yard little opportunity, and he smashed it as hard as he could to the goalkeeper's left-hand side, keeper Thomas Kaminski. Great save from Thomas Kaminski, actually. He parried it with his left hand, and luckily for him, he's actually scooped up in the air and gone back into his hand. So he's absolutely delighted at the fact that that didn't get parried off, because I think Bernardo Silva was just bearing down a goal for an easy tap-in. But like I said, Manchester City pulling the strings at the moment with about 76% possession, so they're all over it at the moment. And the only worrying thing for Luton at the moment, to have a shot on target or off target in this first half. But as it stands, 28 minutes in, Luton 0, Manchester City 0.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
If you're a West Ham fan, you might want to open the nearest door, walk through it and shut it promptly, because Fulham have got a second goal at Craven Cottage. Willian with the goal. Fulham 2, West Ham 0. We'll be back to Pat Norett in just a few moments' time to hear all about that goal. They are scoring goals for fun. 3 goals in the previous 2 before they scored 5 in midweek. It's the first time since 1967 that Fulham have scored 3 or more goals in 3 successive top-flight matches. And they're looking every inch capable of making that 4 this afternoon. Stuttgart against Leverkusen has just kicked off. Just been told that the Reece James injury looks like it could well be hamstring related. That's the reports coming out. Richard Freckleton will keep a close eye on that game in Germany, and he's corrected me and said it's a 6-point lead for Bayer Leverkusen if they can win this afternoon. You're absolutely right, Richard. Apologies. My maths has never been my strongest point, quite obviously. And in the crowd, by the way, Luton against Manchester City. Here's a blast from the past way. Do you remember the name? Former Manchester City striker. In the days before they were a wonderful team, but they were a decent side, and this guy was a decent striker as well. Sean Gota is in the crowd at Kenilworth Road watching that game. Incidentally, 11 of Luton's last 13 Premier League games have been settled by a 1-goal margin. They've won 2 and they've lost 6, with a couple of draws in there as well. And Ash Sandiford will keep us up to date, and he's just messaged me actually saying, yeah, I've spotted him, he's in the crowd, he's there, and we'll be around the grounds to catch up with our latest from our reporters throughout the afternoon. And we're going to go to Craven Cottage now and hear about that second Fulham goal from Pat Norett.
Yeah, when you're talking about people in the crowd, there's Tony Gale in the crowd. I'm sure you know who Tony Gale is. But for Fulham, they're actually dominating. They were dominating before the goal, and it had to happen. The ball came on the right-hand side. A wonderful cross from the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, Willian came in, low shot, bang, goal, wonderful goal. 33 goal. It is Fulham now 2 with West Ham 0.
Thank you very much. And yes, I do know who Tony Gale is. I do know Tony, and I've spoken to him a few times. Lovely guy. So Willian with a second goal there just after the half-hour mark. Fulham 2, West Ham United 0. Fulham have suddenly come alive, haven't they? Let's head back to... let's go to Everton first of all. Everton 0, Chelsea 0. And hear from Richard Bond. Richard, it sounds like a hamstring injury potentially for Reece James. And they're not a 5-minute fix, are they?
No, and it's one of those things with poor old Reece. He's had a hamstring injury already this season. Has kept him out for 2 months already. So if it is that same injury, you've got to be a bit worried. You know, he's had so many injuries as of late. So it's been a bit stop-started in the last few minutes in this game. We've also had a bit of a knock. We've got the physio on for Everton's Jared Branthwaite at the moment. Now he's hurt his knee after colliding with I think it was one of the Chelsea midfielders, Gallagher, I think it was, who he collided with. So it's going to be a bit of stoppage time, I think, at half-time, but it's just made this game just a little bit disjointed for the moment. But at the moment, though, it's Everton 0, Chelsea 0, 34 minutes gone.
A player that will be playing in the AFCON in January, the Mali skipper, Mamadou Diarra, is on the score sheet. He's equalised for Tyrrell in the Austrian Bundesliga away to FC Blaise Linz this afternoon, 1-1 in that game. Let's head to the game between Luton Town and Manchester City. We've heard about the goat in the crowd. Is there a goal on the pitch, Ash Sandyford?
There's no goal on the pitch, but it was close to a goal on the pitch, to be honest with you. It was a great opportunity for Phil Foden in the end. He managed to get himself quite close to the edge of the area with a great little kind of chopped in from Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva's on the right-hand side. He's starting to get lots of the ball being fed by Carl Walker over on that right, and he's kind of fed him through, and near enough Phil Foden is bearing down on goal, but the goalkeeper Thomas Kaminski's probably got out to Phil Foden a little bit quicker, and Phil Foden probably done the right thing and just pulled his foot back just in case of any head injuries, and the keeper really grabbed it really well. So he came out and spreaded himself and got the ball just before Phil Foden. But yeah, good little chance for Manchester City there. But to be honest with you, Luton are just edging the game in terms of just keeping it really, really tight. They look really solid at the back. They've made City have a lot of chances from outside of the box and not giving them much space in between the lines. So Luton will be pretty pleased. The only thing they won't be pleased about is not having any shots so far on target, or at all, I should say. So Ederson probably could have a cup of tea in this first half. But as it stands, about 34 minutes in, it's Luton Town 0, Manchester City.
Thank you very much for that, Ash. So Everton 0, Chelsea 0, Luton 0, Manchester City 0. Stuttgart have just kicked off against Leverkusen. We'll be across to Richard Freckleton very soon to hear about the opening stages. And Fulham 2-0 up on West Ham. It's finished at the Emirates. Arsenal 4, Chelsea 1 in the WSL. Great win for Arsenal women against Chelsea women this afternoon. A comprehensive victory. Talking of comprehensive 3-0 cushions, there was one yesterday in the Premier League, and it came for Bournemouth when they beat Manchester United away by 3-0. And that, of course, was a manager of the month curse, wasn't it? How many times have we seen that happen? You get named manager of the month and then you have a disastrous result. It certainly happened for Erik ten Hag yesterday, and here he was talking after that 3-0 home loss at Old Trafford for Manchester United against Bournemouth.
Of course, annoyed, disappointed. Definitely, I expected something different. I hope before the game you can build on that performance and the result from Chelsea. So then it's very disappointed with the way we started the game. And then I think we did a long time everything to get back in the game, but I think to return in the game. But then the brilliance, the movements in the box were not there.
Yes, it's a right topsy-turvy season, isn't it, for Manchester? How are they just 3 points behind Manchester City going into this weekend? It's head-scratching, isn't it? Because there is a massive gap between those two sides, and yet only 3 points in the league. But, of course, big game for Manchester United coming up this midweek. They play Bayern Munich at home. They've got to win that one. And if my memory serves me right, I think it's Galatasaray go to FC Copenhagen, and they'll be praying that one ends in a draw. So it's clutching at straws, to say the least, for Manchester United to get through in the Champions League this season from the group. They're currently bottom of the group, and they've got a lot of work to do, but they're still in with a chance. But they've got to beat Bayern Munich, and you would imagine Bayern Munich are out for a reaction after being thrashed 5-1 against Eintracht Frankfurt yesterday afternoon. Let's go back to Craven Cottage. Fulham very much on top against West Ham United. Last we heard from Pat Norright, he was telling us about a second goal, and Pat, Fulham have come close again.
Yeah, they're dominated possession. It's like West Ham not coming out to meet them at all. They're just sitting there waiting for him to come. But it was Kearney. It was Tom Kearney who took a shot flat on the left-hand side. All it needs is a touch for it to go into goal. And they're going to score again soon. With, 38 gone, still Fulham 2. West Ham not really trying, 0.
It was a little bit like that, Pat, the other night, wasn't it, against Spurs? Because I thought West Ham were poor first half, and Spurs, lots of tippy-tappy football, never really looked convincing in the final third. And then second half, it all changed. They changed their tactics a little bit and went on and won the game. So maybe that's a David Moyes ploy. Feed the false expectations to the home side and then go and catch them in the second half. But Fulham are taking their chances, is where Tottenham didn't really the other night, did they?
No, but then you see with Fulham, there is a difference. Fulham are not open. When they play, they don't hold this high line, and you can't get behind them. They're very clever what they do, they build up. As soon as West Ham get the ball, there's no room for them. All they got to do is do a lot of switching their play all the time to get behind them. But I tell you what I've noticed Fulham are doing is basically going down the wings with Orobi down one side and William on the other side, and they're targeting the right back and left back with Cresswell on one side and Kufal on the other side. So it's quite interesting tactically watching it. But they're just passing the ball around. Even if West Ham do win it, they've got nowhere to go but down the sides. So interesting. We've still 40 gone, 5 away from half time. Fulham 2, West Ham 0.
So still Everton 0, Chelsea 0, still Luton 0, Manchester City 0. And just as soon as we leave Pat Norret, the ball bulges in the back of the net once again at Craven Cottage.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Well, if things were bad enough for West Ham United, then they've just got a whole lot worse, because Fulham have just scored a third goal. It's Fulham 3, West Ham United 0, and it looks like West Ham are going the same way as Nottingham Forest did on Wednesday evening at Craven Cottage. It's the 4th game in succession for the first time ever that Fulham have scored 3 or more goals in 4 successive matches, and Adebayo Tosin has scored the goal. Let's call him Tosin because I always struggle with Adebayo, and it's Tosin with the goal, who's only just got back into the side after injury, and he's sat on the bench for a little while. He's been out of favour towards the back end of last season. He's got his chance again and he's gone and tucked the ball into the back of the net. It's Fulham 3, West Ham 0, heading towards half-time in our 3 matches. Still Luton 0, Manchester City 0, still Everton 0, Chelsea 0. In fact, let's go back to Goodison Park, shall we, and catch up with Richard Bond, who can tell us all about how things have unfolded so far without the sight of a goal as yet.
Yeah, it's been such a poor first half in terms of chances, but there was a good half. Well, I say a good chance, say a half chance for Chelsea. Really, Mudryk, who's probably been the most lively of the Chelsea's players, down that left-hand side, gone past Ashley Young, who's happened to pick up a bit of an injury off turning awkwardly. He sent a ball in trying to find Brozier, who's kind of taken a touch, and he's just not really got hold of the shot then. Under pressure from from Branthwaite, who's recovered from his own knock, and the ball's just gone flying over the bar. It was an awkward sort of effort, but yeah, as I say, Young's gone off as well now, so Nathan Patterson has come on for Everton, and Ash Young probably will be glad of a bit of a sit down. I hope he's not too injured though. But at the moment though, it's Everton 0, Chelsea 0, 42 minutes gone.
At his age, Ashley Young playing 2 games in a week, he'll probably need a rest, but still a very good player at Premier League level. Let's head back to Craven Cottage. Pat Norret, last time we were there, you said to me, they're going to score again in a minute, and you weren't wrong.
I know, but the thing about this is they didn't score an open play. This was a corner, so I didn't expect that. All the wonderful football they're playing, right? They're passing, and it's funny, all the goals come from either down the wings. So this was a corner from the right-hand side. And Tosin, like you said, I can't pronounce his other name, but he just rose and scored with a header. So it's wonderful. It's now 42 gone with Fulham 3, West Ham 0. No answer.
It's Adebayo. Tosin, and the reason I read it out wrong is because my producer John Kane spelt it wrong on my screen here, so we
blame him.
Blame John Kane. Last time we went to Kenilworth Road, it was 0-0. It still is 0-0. Let's head back to Ash Sandiford. Stat that I've just seen on my monitor a couple of minutes ago: Luton 1 shot, Manchester City 10 shots. Still 0-0. But you can tell us about a chance for Luton Town.
Yeah, there was just half a chance, to be honest with you, for Luton Town. Still currently Luton 0, Manchester City 0. There's half a chance, and it was from Andros Townsend in the end. He kind of got down to the right-hand side, and he had no options, to be honest with you. There was probably no one within I'd say, even 10, maybe even 20 yards of him. So you know what, he thought to himself, you know what, we haven't had a shot yet. We're going to have a pop. So he had a shot. It didn't really come to anything in the end. Very simple save for Henderson. But it's funny because Andros Townsend will be licking his lips at the fact of trying to shoot, because Remember that wonder goal that he scored when he used to play for Crystal Palace back in 2018? He scored a wonder goal for Crystal Palace when they won that match 3-2. It's probably one of the goals of the season. Anyone ever think, if anyone's not seen that goal, you must go back. Andros Townsend, 2018 against Manchester City, now currently playing for Luton. Wonder goal in 2018. I think it's nearly 5 years to the day, actually, back in December. It's got a wonder goal. So he'll be looking to get on the score sheet today, maybe get some memories of that goal that he scored. But it was a wonder goal, to be fair. But yeah, still as it stands, approaching half-time, it's 43 minutes in. Luton 0, Manchester City 0.
I can back you up on that one, Ash. It was a thumping good goal. He scored a few in his time, hasn't he, Andros Townsend? And how Luton fans would love one from him this afternoon. Manchester City have taken just 12 points from a possible 27 in the Premier League. They're not having the best of times at the moment, and they're not finding it easy to get beyond Luton Town in the modest surrounds of the Kenny this afternoon at Kenilworth Road. Luton 0, Manchester City 0, half-time fast approaching. Fulham 3, West Ham 0, Everton 0, Chelsea 0. Our game in the Bundesliga is underway. Stuttgart against Bayer Leverkusen. Let's head to Richard Freckleton, who can tell us all about what's been happening in a goalless opening between the two sides.
Yes, here at the MHP Arena, it's still Stuttgart 0, Bayer Leverkusen 0. But this is a mouth-watering game, I can tell you. Both teams attacking, and the closest we came to a goal was after 8 minutes when Adil, the Bayer Leverkusen attacking midfielder, struck the bar from an acute angle. He gave the keeper absolutely no chance by blasting it, but it hit the side of and rattled the bar. But beautiful link-up play with him and the Nigerian Victor Boniface. You can see exactly why Bayer Leverkusen are unbeaten this season and are scoring plenty of goals. But Stuttgart started very confidently and playing lots of intricate one-touch football, but they've yet to cause any trouble to Eradicate in the Bayer Leverkusen goal. But so far, with 15 minutes gone, it's Stuttgart 0, Bayer Leverkusen 0.
2 minutes added time added on at Kenilworth Road in the game between Luton Town and Manchester City. 3 minutes of added time added on at Craven Cottage for the game between Fulham and West Ham. That's a minute for every goal that Fulham have scored and celebrated in the first half. Fulham 3, West Ham 0. 4 minutes of injury time at Goodison Park, Everton against Chelsea, which is currently 0-0. We'll be across those games very shortly for half-time reports. Lena Petterman has scored right on the stroke of half-time for Leicester City women in the WSL. They lead away at Brighton and Hove Albion by a 0-0. Remember earlier on, Arsenal 4, Chelsea 1 in the Women's Super League here in England in the big derby at the Emirates. Great win that for Arsenal. A thumping defeat for the league leaders and reigning champions. Emma Hayes' side beaten comprehensively this afternoon 4-1. Let's turn our attentions back to yesterday very quickly. Steve Cooper had a real horrible taste of a 5-0 defeat at Fulham in midweek on Wednesday. His side did show a reaction yesterday, picking up a point in a 1-1 draw away at Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Well, it was not going to take much to improve on Wednesday, and don't think that we'll forget about that. You know, we won't let it dwell, of course, but we won't forget about Wednesday night. Being on the back of some defeats, especially the one against Fulham, and you know, it was about dealing with it in two ways. It was like either sulking after Fulham, trying to hide away, and dare I say it, a repeat performance. Or it was standing up, being counted and making sure that and we put it right a little bit. And I feel like we did that, you know. You saw the togetherness of the group, more than a satisfied performance and result, and we move on to the next one.
Well, that was Steve Cooper, and this is a sound that always gets people to stand up and pay attention to what I've got to say.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And no, it hasn't gone to Fulham, but sit down and lap this one up. It's Luton Town 1, Manchester City Adebayo has scored the goal right on the stroke of half-time. Andros Townsend with a cross, a towering header at the back post, and they've been undone, Manchester City. It's Luton Town 1, Manchester City 0. It's raining, it's windy, it's cold. It's not an afternoon for the purist. If you're a Manchester City fan, look away, because it just goes from bad to worse. City are behind at Luton Town. Let's go to the Kenny, to Kenilworth Road. Ashley Sandiford didn't see this one coming.
It's incredible, absolutely incredible scenes here at Kenilworth Road. It's Luton 1, Manchester City 0, and the crowd are going absolute bonkers right now. Just before half-time, they were going to be happy to go in at half-time with only one shot on target. Man City realistically were all over them with plenty of chances and plenty of possession, but it's broke down on the right-hand side, and he's come into Andros Townsend. Andros Townsend, he's got way too much time. Guardiola's got much time. He's let him cut back into his favoured left foot, and Andros Townsend's just caressed the ball, kind of chipped it back post, hardly with any power, to be honest with you. And it's Adebayo with a literally powerful header just to the bottom of Ederson's goal. He was so close to the goal line that Ederson, to be honest with you, was probably standing in the goal. He was so close to the goal line. It's a great build-up play from Luton. It's a great end to the first half for Luton Town. They would not have expected this. Guardiola was pulling the rest of his hair out, and Man City go on a they got to go really guns blazing in this second half. But as it stands, it's Luton 1, Manchester City 0, and it's half-time.
Let's head to the banks of the Thames, shall we? The London derby this afternoon, Fulham against West Ham United. It's half-time at Craven Cottage. Pat Narrett.
Yeah, it was easy for Fulham in the first half, actually. They got the first goal in the 22nd minute, a wonderful cross with Paulino. Jimenez back post header. And I always remember this going back post header, but to the right of the keeper. And then on 31 minutes, it was a wonderful cross from Iwobi, and then William finished it off in the box. And Fulham got the ball, they passed, got a corner, and on the 41 minute, and it was a corner, and Toussaint, I think I'll say it, Pereira took the corner, and Toussaint got the third goal went in on 41. So basically, they're in cruise control. I can't see any way West Ham getting back into this, unless, of course, they get a very early goal. So, at half-time, it's Fulham 3, West Ham 0.
And that brings us up to date in 2 of our 3 games in the Premier League, where the half-time whistles are blowing. Let's catch up with the third. Everton against Chelsea. No goals at half-time for Richard Bond.
Yeah, it's half-time here. It's Everton 0, Chelsea 0 in a very forgettable 45 minutes of football, to be honest. Interrupted by injuries to both right-backs. Reece James' hamstring injury will really be the headline maker, and there'd be a concern from Mauricio Pochettino, whose side have had the possession but have done very little with it in the final third, with Jordan Pickford in the Everton goal, comfortably making a couple of saves but never really been tested too much. Everton have struggled to get into the game offensively, but we'll be pleased with their defensive effort and the scoreline being level at the break. I'm hopeful for a bit more on attack from both sides in this second half. For now, though, it's Everton 0, Chelsea 0 at half-time.
Thank you very much. That brings us bang up to date. Let's quickly go over to Germany. Halfway through the first half, Richard Freckleton. Still 0-0 between Stuttgart and Bayer Leverkusen, but who's on top?
Yes, Barry, it is still Stuttgart 0, Bayer Leverkusen 0, but my goodness, what a tremendous shot from the edge of the box from the Stuttgart attacker Undev. Some of you who follow the Premier League will remember him from last season. He played for Brighton Hove Albion, and it was a fantastic save from Haradaki in the Bayer Leverkusen goal that prevented Stuttgart from actually taking the lead. It's very tight between these two teams, not much difference between them in terms of possession. It's a quality game to watch, and it's just a question of who will score first. But so far, with 21 minutes on the clock, it is still Stuttgart 0, Bayer Leverkusen 0.
Thank you very much, Richard. Undav, 8 goals in the league this season. Guirassy, 16 goals. What a partnership they've been. Grimaldo, 7 goals. Boniface, of course, the Nigerian international with 8 goals. Great strike partnerships going on in that game, but still 0-0. Let's go to John Kane, shall we? Because he can give us all the very latest half-time odds.
The latest in-play betting odds from NairaBet.
Thank you very much, Barry. Yeah, of course, as you can imagine, the odds have changed dramatically, especially with the game at Luton and Manchester City. Luton are leading at half-time by a goal to 0. Luton now are 4.20 to maintain that win. 3.30 for the draw, and Manchester City, they're still favourites. They are 2.0 for that win. Half-time at Everton-Chelsea still 0-0. Everton are 3.60 for the win. The draw is 2.50, and Chelsea just slightly favoured, 2.80. Fulham-West Ham is 3-0 to Fulham at the break. Fulham are more or less next to nothing. It's more or less suspended for the home win. The draw is 26.0, I beg your pardon, for the draw, and for away win is 81.0. Half-time as well at Serie A, Monza 0, Genoa 0. Monza are 2.75 for the win. The draw is 2.38, and finally, Genoa to win is 4.0. All these prices are from courtesy of NairaBet, and they're all subject to change.
Thank you very much, John. Wow, well, the first half has gone whizzing past, and the half-time whistle has gone in our 3 matches in the Premier League. Not too much happening at Goodison Park. Everton 0, Chelsea 0. It's all happening at Luton Town. Luton Town 1, Manchester City 0 at Kenilworth Road. We just heard that goal go in right on the stroke of half-time. Pep Guardiola has gone marching off the pitch. He's berating the 4th official. He's not happy at the moment. Luton Town 1, Manchester City 0. Who'd have thought it? Fulham are 3-0 up on West Ham United as well. Now it's time to hand back to Brilla FM and to Tony and the team. We'll be back with the second half in those 3 featured games, plus that game in Bundesliga very shortly. Over to you, Tony.
Hit it, boys.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Yes, welcome back. Thank you very much to Tony and the crew at Brilla FM. Great as always to hear from them and to hear from you guys as well. We're back, and are we about to see one of the big Premier League shocks? It's Luton Town 1, Manchester City 0. We'll be around the grounds in the 3 matches that we're covering. The 3 o'clock kickoffs are just starting in the second half. Let's just recap for you. Fulham 3, West Ham 0. It's 0-0 between Everton and Chelsea at Goodison. And at Kenilworth Road, Luton Town 1, Manchester City, with no Erling Haaland this afternoon. A bone injury. Haven't heard of them too often, have we? Bone injuries. But they've got 0. So it's Luton 1, Manchester City 0. Who'd have thought that? So that's where we are at. Let's head into Germany first of all. Half-time is fast approaching in the big top-of-the-table clash. Richard Freckleton promised us goals. I don't blame him, because I think I, somewhere along the lines, were going to do exactly the same thing. But so far, Richard, it's 0-0.
Yes, Barry, it is Stuttgart 0, Bayer Leverkusen 0. Certainly in this game so far, the goalkeepers have been earning their bacon, as they say. I mean, some tremendous saves I've seen in the 36 minutes that have gone so far. I mean, in particular, Hiradiki. I mean, the striker, Garassi, was clean on through a goal, and you thought that this is going to be number 17. But he saved it fantastically with his feet, showing great position and agility to stop the ball from going in the net. And then we had the Nigerian striker Victor Boniface as well. You know, the Stuttgart team, they like to play out from the back, from the goalkeeper. They made an error, and Victor Boniface, you know, pounced on it and had a snapshot on goal. But on this occasion, he was not able to add to his 8 goals that he scored so far. So there's plenty of goal mouth action, but still, with 37 minutes on the clock, it still remains Stuttgart 0, Bayer Leverkusen 0.
Thank you very much, Richard. Let's go around the Premier League grounds. Let's start in the game that could be causing a stir. I'm watching at Kenilworth Road. Luton Town leading Manchester City by a goal to 0. It's Ash Sandiford.
Yeah, it's still currently Luton Town 1, Manchester City 0. Big shock on the cards here, obviously, of course, but there's still so much time in this game to play. Yeah, it's just a few minutes gone so far, and to be honest with you, Luton have actually started the half much more positively than Man City. Man City just looking a little bit nervy at the moment. There's been no changes to both teams, but Luton have came out into the second half all guns blazing. They've just had a couple of corners. They're keeping the ball. They've already got a bit more possession than they did do in that first half, so they just got a lot of confidence from that last minute goal they scored in the first half. So they'll be going from strength to strength in this game, and Manchester City really need to start fast, because otherwise this game could be taken away from them. Just look what happened to Arsenal. Arsenal conceded from a few set pieces, so I'll say the next goal in this game is huge here at Kenilworth Road. I think if City get it, then the tides could turn and Man City could run away with it. But if Luton get this next one, I think they're in big trouble, Manchester City. But as it stands, about 49 minutes in, it's Luton 1, Manchester City 0.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And I can tell you there has been a goal. We promised goals. Richard Freckleton promised goals. And I can tell you that Führich has scored for Stuttgart in our featured game in the Bundesliga. Stuttgart won, Bayer Leverkusen 0. We'll be across to hear about that goal for Richard and for Stuttgart in just a second. Let's go to the other Richard, shall we? Richard Bond. Big chance for Everton against Chelsea in the early stages of the second half at Goodison Park, Richard.
Yeah, and Everton started the brighter of the two sides in the second half. Boyd with a bit of confidence from a good first period, and it was Dwight McNeil who had the chance. It was played in by Jack Harrison, who picked the ball up about 25 yards out. He's just put a lovely defence splitting ball through, finding just between the centre halves. McNeil's hit it first time, and he smashed the shot away, and it's just flown past the far post. Remember, Dwight McNeil's got 2 in his last 2 games recently now for Everton, player in form, as Everton have had a really good run as of late. Nothing else to note about apart from the half-time sub where Onana did come on for Gay for Everton. But at the moment, though, it's Everton 0, Chelsea 0 with 51 minutes on the clock.
Thank you very much. Jerome Opoku will be playing in the AFCON in the new year, the defender who plays for Ghana. He has just been sent off. It didn't really matter in the end. He was sent off in the 6th minute of injury time for Istanbul Başakşehir, but they won the game 1-0 in the Turkish Super League this afternoon against Hatayspor, and so that red card, a second yellow, was in vain. Let's head to Richard Freckleton, who can tell us about the opening goal for Stuttgart in the Bundesliga.
Yes, it's a Stuttgart 1, and it's Bayer Leverkusen 0. What a beautiful build-up to the goal it was. A beautiful weighted ball to Stiller, who crossed, and it was tapped in superbly with no problems at all by Führich. So this is a blow, obviously, to Bayer Leverkusen, who knows that if they win today, they will go 6 points clear. But this is a big incentive, of course, for Stuttgart, because if they win today, they go above Bayern Munich. So far, it's 41 minutes on the clock gone, and it's Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 0.
Bit of a shock in the WSL. Bristol City leading 1-0 away at Liverpool. Amelie Thestrup with the goal for Bristol City. And Leicester now 2-0 up in the same league. Jutta Rantala with the second goal at Brighton. Brighton 0, Leicester 2. Let's head to Craven Cottage. Couple of substitutions at half-time. To tell us all about them, here is Pat Norrett.
Yeah, David Moyes made a couple of substitutions to change things. Mavropanos has come on for Cresswell, it looks like, and Fornals for Emerson. So it looks to me that he's going by 3 at the back, playing probably Emerson on the left-hand side and try to push someone else on the right-hand side. But things have... for Fulham, they made one change. William, I think, was carrying a slight injury, and Wilson's come on for him. But at the moment, same as you were in the first half, Fulham dominating, and this time they're just taking their time, not really forcing anything. So hoping that West Ham will come out and they'll hit them on the break. But with 53 gone, Fulham cruising 3, West Ham 0.
Here's a stat for you. Chelsea have not won a Premier League game this season that they have been drawing 0-0 in at half-time. They've drawn 1 and lost 3 of those games where they've been 0-0 at half-time. So they've not been 0-0 at half-time in the Premier League this season and gone on to win the game. And I've got some bad news for you, Chelsea fans.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
I'm just going to put some meat on the bones for those stats because Everton have taken the lead at Goodison Park. It's Everton 1, Chelsea 0. And just as I tell you that Chelsea have never gone on from 0-0 at half-time to go on and win a game in the Premier League this season, they go and fall behind at Goodison Park. Everton 1, Chelsea 0. We'll be across to Richard Bond in just a couple of minutes to hear about that goal at Goodison Park. Fulham 3, West Ham 0, Luton 1, Manchester City 0. It's not going the way of the three teams that you would probably put down as favourites on your accumulator, maybe, wouldn't you? Chelsea, West Ham, Manchester City. Well, you could argue that, but Doucouré has got the goal for Everton, and we'll be across to hear about that goal in just a moment. So we've had goals in all of our games now. Everton 1, Chelsea 0, Fulham 3, West Ham 0, Luton 1, Manchester City 0, and Stuttgart leading against the leaders Bayer Leverkusen, who have not lost in the Bundesliga yet this season, but are behind on the stroke of half-time by a goal to nil. Later on, we have got Tottenham against Newcastle. VAR are looking at the goal at Everton, I understand, as the Chelsea fans out there amongst you are probably holding their breath and just hoping that that goal from Abdoulaye Doucouré is ruled out. We'll keep a close eye on things there, but as things stand, VAR are just having a quick check. Not had any confirmation, but we'll hear about that goal, regardless of whether it stands or not, from Richard Bond in just a couple of minutes' time. The goal has been given, and to tell us all about that goal, it's Richard Bond.
Well, I said Everton were looking better in this second half, and the side that's taking the lead is Everton 1, Chelsea 0, and Doucouré's 6th goal of the season. Such a big play for Everton has put them ahead. And Dwight McNeil looks so bright in this second half. He's slid a really nice ball into Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's just found, put onto his right foot. He's had a shot, and he's got Sanchez flying down to his right-hand side. The goalkeeper just taken a knock moments earlier, so not really sure whether he just recovered from that enough, but he rebounded it back. It's fallen for Doucouré, and he's just slotted it into the back of the net at the second time of asking. But I tell you what, big stuff for Everton there. They're ahead again for the 3rd game in a row. Can they go on and win this one, or will Chelsea manage to fight their way back into it? But at the moment, it's Everton 1, Chelsea 0 with 56 minutes gone.
If it had not been for that deduction of points, they would be above Chelsea in the table, and currently 10th Everton. I think he's done a fantastic job there, Sean Dyche. And well, let's go to the game between Luton Town and Manchester City, because well, it's still 1-0, and we've played 13 minutes of the second half, and Ash Sandiford, they're holding on at the moment, Luton Town, aren't they?
Yeah, certainly right. They're holding on. It's Luton 1, Manchester City 0, and Manchester City just had a really dangerous free kick, probably about 22, 23 yards out, and Luton kind of probably had a wall of about 5 or 6 in the wall, and the additional draft excluder, I should say, the one that just sits on the floor, just underneath at the bottom of the wall, just lying down. Don't know who wants that job, but look, it was a job that they did, and it's a job that worked actually in the end. The free kick came in the end from Alvarez. I think it was Bernardo Silva went in to take the free kick, dummied it, stepped back, and then Alvarez took the free kick, came off the wall onto the draft exclusion at the bottom, and then went over the bar. So in the end, it was a good, well-placed free kick, but didn't actually get the goal in the end. But yeah, Luton Town will be happy so far. There's about 57 minutes gone so far. Rob Edwards' 50th game in charge of Luton today, so he'll be hoping for a win today, and that would be really put them up in the league. I think they're currently, as it stands, 18th in the league, and this potentially could take them outside of the bottom relegation standards. So yeah, it would be a good point for Fulham today, for Luton today, if they get them. But as it stands, it's Luton 1, Manchester City 0.
Thank you very much for that, Ash. Let's head to Craven Cottage. Pat Norrett, another chance for Fulham, and not giving up on 3-0, are they?
No, they're at it. You know, they got the ball, they're passing it around, and what happened there? They passed the ball, got the ball edge of the box, and Harry Wilson, who came on for William, received the ball in the box. He turned Zuma, took a shot, but middle of the goal, but Farabensky saved it. I'll tell you what, they're going to get another one soon. It's 59 gone. It's Fulham 3, West Ham 0.
City have just hit the bar at Kenilworth Road, and well, Pat Norrett, he's like a mind reader. He's like a crystal ball that he's got there. He said in the first half they're going to get another one in a minute, Fulham, and they went and got a third a couple of minutes later. That crystal ball has been bubbling away during half-time, and it continues to operate in front of his very eyes there, and that game at Craven Cottage. And let me tell you, there has been another goal at Craven Cottage.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
He's got it absolutely right, hasn't he, Pat Norett? They're going to get another one in a minute. Fulham have just gone 4-0 up. Harry Wilson with the goal off the bench, on as a sub. Fulham 4, West Ham 0. They won 5-0 in the week against Nottingham Forest, and they are putting West Ham to the sword this afternoon. They really are the informed team at the moment, aren't they? Them and Everton. They're ripping up the show, and Everton against Fulham is a quarter-final in a week or two in the Carabao Cup. That should be a cracking game at Goodison Park, that one, by the way, Everton against Fulham. But Fulham 4, West Ham 0, and we'll head to Pat Norett in just a moment or two. So hear all about that goal. And Pat will also be giving us all the lottery numbers as well, because he seems to be getting everything right this afternoon. Let's head back to Mystic Pat Norett at Craven Cottage, who's presided over yet another Fulham goal.
Yeah, I have, and to tell you what, he's made a difference, Harry Wilson. Never heard of him. I'm sure you know, because you're a Fulham fan. Right, what happened was Tom Cairney found him in the box, well, just outside the box, unleashed a fabulous shot from long range. Fabianski, no chance. So with 61 gone. Fulham gone all the way. 4-0. West Ham 0.
Fulham hitting the back of the net 4 times, and there's been a goal at the Kenny.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Manchester City are level. It's Luton Town 1, Manchester City 1, and Bernardo Silva has thrust the ball low and hard beyond the right hand of the goalkeeper and into the corner. It's 1 apiece now in that game at Kenilworth Road. Luton Town 1, Manchester City 1. They hit the bar just a few minutes ago. They've been knocking on Luton's door, and they've gone and scored an equaliser. Bernardo Silva with a goal. We'll head back to Kenilworth Road, and we'll hear from Ash Sandiford in just a couple of moments to tell us about that goal. In answer to Pat Norett's question, you should have known who Harry Wilson is. Yes, I do. He used to play for Liverpool. He's a Welsh international, and most of his goals are scored from outside of the penalty area. It's half-time in the game at where is it? At Stuttgart, at the MHP Arena. Shall we go over and I tell you what, we're going to head first to Kenilworth Road. Ash Sandiford can tell us about the Manchester City goal that has seen them level things up at Luton.
Yeah, excellent build-up play and a great goal. It's Luton 1, Manchester City 1. It's an equaliser has come from Manchester City. And to be honest with you, Pep Guardiola he was berating the officials at half-time. He won't be berating them at this time because the referee's played a fantastic advantage on the right-hand side. Carl Walker has been blatantly brought down, probably about 26, 27 yards out just to the right-hand side. And he's tried to get the ball in and he's been blatantly took that, and the referee's just gone for it. He just said, go for it. The referee said, just go for it. And Bernardo Silva, in the end, Rodri's got the ball in it, probably about 16, 17 yards out, slipped it into Bernardo Silva, and Bernardo Silva thrusted the ball just to the right-hand side, bottom corner, no chance for the goalkeeper. Manchester City back in this game, and to be honest with you, the odds will be for Manchester City to win this game now. Luton will just have to manage the game now if they can, but as it stands, 63 minutes in, it's Luton 1, Manchester City 1.
Thank you very much, Ash Sandiford. We will go to John Kane in just a couple of minutes' time. First of all, let's head back to Germany, and the half-time whistle has blown, and it's Stuttgart that lead back Leverkusen at half-time. Richard Freckleton.
Yes, Barry. Here at the stadium in Stuttgart, it's Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 0. It could easily be 2-2 in my opinion, with the early goal from Alfaction, but Hradecki in the Bayer Leverkusen goal has been fantastic, and it could have been a lot more than just the one so far. But since the goal came, I mean, Stuttgart have been bossing the game. It really has stunned Bayer Leverkusen. And the Bayer Leverkusen manager, Alonso, will have some thinking to do. He's got some firepower off the bench with Hoffman, the striker who's got 5 goals. But I don't think he'll be panicking just yet, because the Nigerian striker, Victor Boniface, been a big threat, and there has been chances that they have had, but they will have to be very wary of the likes of Garassi and Undaf, who between them have scored 24 goals this season. Very intriguing game this, and it's not over yet, but at half-time so far it is Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 0.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
It's Jack Grealish that has put the ball between the legs of the goalkeeper, and Manchester City have struck again. Luton were ahead. Was it to be the big shock? They nearly shocked Arsenal in midweek, Luton Town. They have fallen behind to Manchester City. There is a VAR check in that game. It's Luton 1, Manchester City 2. And the goal has been given. Let's go to Ash Sandiford, who can tell us all about that second goal for Manchester City from Jack Grealish.
Yeah, it's Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2, and the turnaround has now near enough been completed. Manchester City put really big pressure on Luton as soon as Luton kicked off for that second goal, for that first goal of Manchester City. They were on the back foot straight away. In the end, it was Luton tried to play the ball out from the back, and they kind of misplaced the pass. And in the end, I think it was a bit of a ricochet from Phil Foden. Phil Foden tried to play it through. It hit off the Luton Town defender's head, got back to him, and he played it down the right-hand side to Julian Alvarez, and Alvarez just got his head up. Probably Kevin De Bruyne-esque pass, rolled it and flashed it across on the edge of the 16-yard box, 18-yard box, I should say, and Jack Grealish with his left foot first time across the goalkeeper. No chance for keeper Tomasz Kaminski, and it's 2-1 Manchester City. So Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2.
Thank you very much for that, Ash. Let's catch up with John Kane, shall we? He can give us all the very latest odds. Here's John Kane with all the very latest odds from NairaBet.
Yes, thank you very much. The latest odds from NairaBet. There's quite a few changes since the last time I was with you. Let's start with Luton Town. They are losing now by 2-1 at Kenilworth Road after 67 minutes. Luton Town are 101.0 for the win, 17.0 for the draw, and it's 1.03. So we talk about next to nothing for Man City to maintain this win. West Ham are leading, or cruising in fact, by 4-0 in the 67 minutes. Fulham are suspended. The draw is 29.0, and for West Ham win is 101.0. Everton Chelsea 1-0 for Everton. 67 minutes gone there as well. Everton are 1.50. In fact, just gone down to 1.50. The draw is 3.75, and Chelsea to win that game and turn it around in the next 25 minutes or so are 9.50. In Germany, it's 1-0 to Stuttgart at half-time against Bayer Leverkusen. Stuttgart are 1.50 to maintain a win, 4.20 for the draw, and it's just gone down to Bayer Leverkusen for 7.0. We're about the 12th minute in the Spanish La Liga game between Granada and Athletic Bilbao. It's already 1-0 up, Athletic Bilbao away to Granada. Granada are 9.50 for the win. The draw is 5.25 on Athletic Bilbao to win the game is 1.36. I was going to give you the Monza Genoa odds, but that's been suspended, so I'm assuming something is happening there. Of course, all these prices are from NairaBet, and they're all subject to change.
Thank you very much, John. There's some substitutions taking place in the games at the moment. Chelsea throwing on the big guns. A couple of changes for West Ham. Manchester City have just made an alteration as well. We'll be round the grounds in just a few moments' time to learn about them. Just mentioned there, John Kane, the game in Spain. Granada 0, Athletic Bilbao 1. A goal after just 6 minutes in that game from the Ghanaian international Inaki Williams to give Bilbao the lead away from home very early on in that game. Yesterday, Jurgen Klopp spoke about his main talisman. Yes, he's gone and done it again. Mo Salah breaks another record. 200 goals for Liverpool. Here's Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, but what you said is you cannot score 200 goals if you only score in your best football games. That was again today neither from Mo nor from anybody the best football game, but staying in a game and being always a threat, that makes you then that makes these numbers. And obviously we carried a shirt with the 200 on the back already for 2 weeks. Today we could give it to him in the dressing room, and the response of the boys was incredible. They really loud applause and wanted a speech, but I had to go. I don't know if he had one or not.
Predict 6 correct scores to win a life-changing 20 million Naira. Naira 6 is the new and exciting free prediction game to play at www.nairabet.com. we challenge you to predict the scores of 6 pre-selected fixtures, usually from the Premier League. Guess all 6 correct and the prize is yours. The guaranteed jackpot will be up for grabs each week, with plenty of prizes for runners-up. The best thing about Naira 6 is that it is completely free to enter. All you need to do is log into nairabet.com and click the free tab. Select Naira 6 and enter your predictions. Wait for the final scores. So what are you waiting for? Available to registered players only. 1 entry per person. Must be over 18 to sign up. Full terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
Football Live will be returning to Brila FM next Saturday afternoon, when the Premier League will be in full flow once again. Chelsea are in action at Stamford Bridge against the bottom of the table Sheffield United. Newcastle United put their excellent home form on the line against Fulham. Champions Manchester City take on Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. And in Italy, Victor Osimhen is in action as Napoli take on Calgary. All that live football action to look forward to next weekend, right here on Brila FM on Football Live.
Football Live. Football's never sounded so good on Brila FM every Saturday and Sunday.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Welcome back to Football Live, where it's all happening this afternoon. We're going to go around the Premier League grounds, the 3 games that are currently playing. Plenty of goals going in this afternoon. Everton 1, Chelsea 0, Fulham 4, West Ham 0, Luton 1, Manchester City 2, Manchester City coming back. But first of all, let's head to the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham Hotspur against Newcastle United is our late game. Billy Andrews is going to be watching this. And Billy, you've got the team news for us.
Yeah, welcome to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Both these teams coming in off the back of losses in midweek. And Ange Postecoglou makes 2 changes to the Spurs side that were beaten by West Ham on Thursday night. Son Heung-min is fit enough to start after suffering a back problem in that game. He's joined by Richarlison, making his first start since the end of October. The other alteration to the Spurs team is Pape Sarr coming into midfield to replace Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and to re-partner Bissouma in that midfield pivot. And Newcastle unchanged from that 3-0 defeat to Everton. So Eddie Howe in fact starts the same 10 outfield players for a 5th consecutive game. So it's Vicario, Pedro Porro, Christian Romero, Ben Davis and Destiny Adugi in a back 4, with Bissouma and Pape Sarr in behind Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson, Richarlison and Son for Tottenham. Martin Dubravka, Kieran Trippier, Jamal Lascelles, Fabian Schär and Tino Livramento, with Lewis Miley, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton in the midfield 3, behind Miguel Almiron, Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak. Kick-off in just over an hour, but if you're a betting man, you can get Son Heung-min to score at any time for 5.00, Alexander Isak at 6.50, and if you fancy a bit of an outsider, you can have Kieran Trippier 41.00, but kick-off in just over an hour at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Looking forward to this one, Billy. Do you know what? I saw something earlier, Billy, and I run it past you. Miguel Almiron. And someone pointed to him and said he's probably been the best import from the MLS into the Premier League. And then I started thinking about it. He probably is, isn't he? What's your thoughts?
Probably is for this current generation, I'd definitely say so. I think Clint Dempsey might have something to say about that. Of course, the ex-Spurs and Fulham player, as you very well know, Barry, but definitely the best current one, because it certainly isn't going to be the likes of DeAndre Yedlin, but he's been fantastic the last couple of seasons he's really kicked on and he looks an absolute threat every time he goes forward.
Yeah, really looking forward to this one this afternoon. Billy, thank you very much. We'll be catching up with you ahead of kick-off, I'm sure. Tottenham Hotspur against Newcastle United. Billy Andrews, our reporter. Let's go around the ground, shall we? Let's start at Kenilworth Road. Luton 1, Manchester City 2. Ash Sanderfoot, any change of fortune since City took the lead?
No change of fortune, but change of players, to be honest with you. A couple of substitutions for Luton Town. Andros Townsend has come off for Carlton Morris, and the marvellous Nakamba has come off, and albeit Sambi Lukonga, the on-loan Arsenal player, has come on for him. As for Manchester City, John Stones has now entered the pitch, and Joseph Guardiola has come off. I think they just want to manage John Stones' minutes, to be honest with you, at the moment. He's just come back from injury. You think he started the game, I think, midweek against Aston Villa. So Pep Guardiola will be really trying to manage these big name players, like, for example, John Stones, to make sure that players like him can play the back end of the season when Manchester City, you know what they're like at the end of the season, that last 12 to 10 game stretch, that's when they want all guns blazing. Potentially Kevin De Bruyne might be back in the new year. So if they can have a fit Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne and John Stones fit for the last 10-12 games of the season, I think Arsenal, like Arsenal, teams like Manchester United, they're nowhere in it, but Liverpool, they'll be looking to make sure they can keep the pressure on and accumulate as many points as they possibly can while those players are out. But currently, as it stands, 76 minutes gone, it's Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2.
Yeah, I think I might have opened up a can of worms. Who's the best ever import to the Premier League from the MLS? Clint Dempsey's been thrown into the mix. Miguel Almiron, of course, of Newcastle United, certainly the brightest of those imports in the current crop of players. Landon Donovan, says Richard Bond, one of our reporters at the games today. Another shout from him. Let's go to Richard Bond, shall we, who can tell us all about the game between Everton and Chelsea. And Richard, Chelsea started to run out of time. 77 minutes gone.
Yeah, well, they've thrown a few players on now, what I call the big guns, I guess. Raheem Sterling and Nicholas Jackson, that of the subs, you were the ones you thought they would have brought on, they have. Browy has been largely ineffective, he's been taken off, and as they've gone a bit more offensive, they've taken Enzo Fernandez off in a slight change of shape. But it's really not really done too much to their offence. You know, Sterling's looked a bit out of sorts. Mudryk now is starting to get a bit frustrated on the left-hand side. He's going to the book for kicking the ball away, and Chelsea aren't really getting at this Everton defence, who are looking pretty solid this afternoon. It's a bit of a commentator's curse, I know, with still 15 minutes on the clock, but Everton are looking very comfortable at the moment. But we'll wait and see if we can get any more goals in this one. At the moment, though, it's Everton 1, Chelsea 0.
And let's go to Pat Norrett, who is at Craven Cottage. Fulham comfortably in control of this one. Any sign of any more goals, Pat?
Not at the moment, because there's been a few changes though. Zuma for West Ham, Zuma off and Ogbonna on. Paqueta of Ben Rama's come on for West Ham. As for Fulham, couple of changes. Torre, Robinson's come on and Vinicius coming from Jimenez. Not really. I can tell you there's 23,988 here today, and I can hear, you know, the airway, and I'm sure you know the airway, and you can stand there. I can hear them banging the back of. You can stand at the back, and you can hear the banging going at the back of the boards. They're still going on, but we've 78 gone. Still Fulham 4, West Ham 0.
I think everyone in Nigeria can hear that banging of those boards in the background there, Pat, as West Ham fans are looking for something to keep them entertained, because their team have certainly not done that this afternoon. Fulham 4, West Ham 0. Just over 10 minutes to go in those three featured matches. They're back underway in the Bundesliga, by the way. Stuttgart leading the leaders, unbeaten by Leverkusen. Xavi Alonso's side trailing at half-time by a goal to nil. Big 45 minutes coming up between two sides who are certainly punching above their usual weight in the Bundesliga. Most previous seasons you'd have put this one down as either a mid-table battle or even a relegation battle, but not this season. Stuttgart against Bayer Leverkusen, and it's Stuttgart that are leading at half-time by a goal to nil. Matteo Brunori, the Brazilian, has scored for Palermo as they lead in Serie B against Parma. And in France, Bresch have taken the lead in Metz. Jeremy Dejuan with the goal. And, well, let's turn our attentions back to yesterday. Great win for Bournemouth, 3-0 against Manchester United at Old Trafford. We heard from Erik ten Hag earlier. bemoaning the inconsistencies of his players and his squad, but it was a great day for the Bournemouth manager, Andoni Iraola.
I feel it feels really great, obviously. I think today we had a really good performance. I think the team suffered when they have to suffer. We defended really well, and we knew that probably in transitions we could have our chances, and we took them. It's a difficult comparison, I don't know. Probably it's the best result for sure in England. I think it's nice to win in this kind of stadiums with this kind of performance.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
There's been an equaliser for Bayer Leverkusen in the German Bundesliga. Just a couple of minutes into the second half, and they've equalised. Florian Wirtz with the equalising goal. It's now Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1, and Richard Freckleton is on hand to tell us all about that quick-fire equaliser.
Well, what can I say? Florian Wirtz, he had a very quiet first half. But here at MHP Stadium, it's now 1-1 between Stuttgart and Bayer Leverkusen. They seem to start off like, they meant business. I mean, Florian Wirtz, he made a fantastic run on the wing where he dribbled past 3-4 players, which resulted in the corner. And, a minute later, there was a beautiful cross, which has left him just a simple tap it to make it 1-1. That has set things up nicely in this second half with just, 47 minutes on the clock. And it shows they have a lot of resolve, Alonso's team, and they weren't panicking at all. So who's going to win this one? I can see another goal or two before the end of the 90 minutes. But so far, it's Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1.
Let's head back to Kenilworth Road, shall we? Can't take your eyes off of this one. We're into the last 10 minutes, and Pep Guardiola is just about to make another change. Ash Sandiford, Luton giving it a good old try, because they certainly gave Arsenal a run for their money the other night. They're trying to do the same here with Manchester City, aren't they?
They certainly are. It's still currently Luton 1, Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2. But they had a great chance, actually, a few moments ago from Ross Barkley. He kind of picked the ball up back to goal, probably just in his own half. Well, not in his own, just outside his own half. And he's kind of just got rid of Phil Foden just by barging him off the ball. And he's kind of bearing down the goal. He's dummied, I think, Rodri, and he's cutting on his right-hand side. And with a little bit of composure, he could have just caressed it into one of the corners, and he's just kind of blazed it. And it's kind of gone out for a goal kick, near enough a throw-in, to be honest with you. But it was a great little bit of skill. And the only thing I always say with Ross Barkley, he's such a tremendous player, and he just lacks that little half a yard of pace because he could really do damage to defenders. But yeah, Luton has really given it a good go. And to be honest with you, these two teams sit third and fourth in the table in the league for scoring goals in the last 14 minutes of matches. They've both got 9 goals in the last 14 minutes. So I could see still more goals in this game. But as it stands, it's still currently Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2.
Thank you very much for that, Ash. Luton currently 101.0 for coming back to win that game. 11.0 for the draw, 1.06 for Manchester City to hold out. Chong just about to come on in that game. A goal on 83 minutes rather from Motta. Monza 1, Genoa 0. Let's go to Goodison Park. Any sign of a Chelsea revival? They didn't get much out of a trip in midweek to the northwest, and it looks like they're not going to get anything out of this trip to the northwest either, are they, Richard Bond?
Well, with about 7 minutes of play left to go, Chelsea have started to wake up slightly, and they've started to put a little bit of pressure on Everton's defence. But I tell you, Mykolenko is having an absolute brilliant game for Everton this afternoon on at left back. He's been great. He's put some really good blocks in. He had a really good tackle on Raheem Sterling a few minutes ago. Really, Sterling was found on the right hand side, and he'd been played through really well by Gallagher, and he picked the ball up, taking a touch, looked as if he was just going to unleash a shot towards goal, and there's Mykolenko again. He's been a bit of a thorn, having already seen off his last predecessor not so long ago. But Chelsea it's been like this all afternoon, really. They're just not quite threatening in that final third, and I think that's the big issue that Pochettino is having at the moment. But at the moment, though, 6 minutes to go, Everton 1, Chelsea 0.
1-1 in the game in the Bundesliga. Let's head back to Richard Freckleton, who can tell us about the ball hitting the post.
Yes, it's still 1-1 between Stuttgart and the Bayer Leverkusen. But my goodness, what a cracking daisy cutter of a shot from Xhaka. Those who follow Arsenal will know that this player is capable of fantastic shots from distance. And perhaps he's been encouraged at half-time by Alonso to shoot more at goal. And he certainly did so, where this shot was a daisy cutter from 25 yards out that hit the post. A whisker of going 2-1 ahead Bayer Leverkusen, but they certainly have woken up from the first half and are bossing this game at this moment in time. But it still remains Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1.
Thank you very much for that, Richard. I can tell you that, Danny Monta was the scorer for Monza against Genoa, so 1-0 in that game in Spain. So we've got later games today to look forward to. Tottenham against Newcastle, plus a big one at the bottom of the Bundesliga, Caen against Mainz, and Lyon, bottom with just one win in France, taking on fellow strugglers Toulouse. We'll have some team news from those two games at Caen and Lyon very soon. We've already heard that Heung-min Son does play. Newcastle United for fifth game are unchanged in terms of their outfield 10 for that trip to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Billy Andrews will be with us throughout the latter stages of today's show for all of the regular updates. Let's update you with the latest scores in the games that we're currently featuring. Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2. Manchester City coming from 1-0 down at half-time. Fulham are beating West Ham 4-0, and Everton 1, Chelsea 0 is a latest as well. Let's quickly hear from Chris Wilder. He's the new manager, again, of Sheffield United, and they won yesterday against Brentford, and he was delighted.
Tough evening Wednesday night from an energy point of view. You know, what they put into that game, and you're always looking and thinking, especially like 2-game week, can they go again? So, not saying what we've done is great, but that's the fact of it. But most importantly, my biggest thing this week, you know, and I think you won't need to rocket scientists to work it out, is that connection, that feeling between supporters and players. And you felt it. I felt it on Wednesday. I felt it today.
In Group C of the CAF Confederation Cup, it's Rivers United 1, Club Africain 0 at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium. And a goal just before half-time has given Rivers United the lead, and it's come from Naimba Nekabari. The 30-year-old striker has found the back of the net. Good news there for Rivers United, leading at half-time. In terms of stats, Everton 8 shots, 4 on target. Chelsea 16 shots, 4 on target. Is there any way back for Chelsea? Well, time is certainly not on their side. Let's head back. A couple of minutes to go in this one. Everton against Chelsea. In fact, we're not going to go there just yet, because I can tell you about another goal in the Premier League.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it might just make Nottingham Forest fans sit a little bit easy from that 5-0 defeat at Fulham in midweek, because Fulham have just gone and got a 5th goal against West Ham United this afternoon. It's now Fulham 5, West Ham United 0. Carlos Vinicius off the bench has gone and racked home number 5. Fulham 5, West Ham 0. I don't think as a Fulham fan I'll ever get tired of saying Fulham 5, West Ham United 0. So, we'll go and find out a little bit more about that goal from Pat Noret in just a few moments' time. Let's go to Goodison Park. Let's catch up with Richard Bond. Richard, Everton 1, Chelsea 0. Is there any late comeback from Chelsea?
Well, at the moment, I'm saying no. And you know, when it rains, it pours. I think that's happening for Chelsea today. They've lost their goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez, through injury now. And he had a bit of a knee injury early in the half, as I kind of tried to explain a bit, and looked a bit wobbly on the shot that Doucouré scored from. And his replacement now, Georges Petrovic, I think that's his name pronounced, also a product from the MLS. Interesting fact, but he's Serbian goalkeeper. He's making his debut today from Chelsea. £14 million signing in the summer, so he's one of those ones on a 7-year contract. So be interesting to see if Everton look to pot a couple of shots at him to try and maybe seal this game. But it looks like they're just going to try and hold out and try and see this one out now. About a minute of normal play to go and a bit of stoppage time to go after that. It's Everton 1, Chelsea 0.
Not looking good for the West Londoners of Chelsea, but it is looking very good for the West Londoners of Fulham. 14 shots today, 8 on target. West Ham have had 8 shots, 5 on target. But the all-important scoreline, as Pat Norrett is going to tell us about the 5th goal, is now Fulham 5, West Ham 0.
Yeah, this must be the easiest goal they've scored, right? They passed the ball. What West Ham did, they pushed up, no pressure on the ball over the top, and Wilson went on to it. Vinicius went alongside him, and then just gave it to him, and he just scored. So it was so easy. One thing I forgot to mention on my prep on this one, those two appeared in the 1975 Cup final when the great Bobby Moore and Alan Munnery made their last appearance for Wembley, I think. I thought I'd throw that in. Of course, I think Alan Taylor scored the only goal. And I can see, I'm looking at Tony Gale. He's in the commentary box. You can see him waving up there. Obviously, he loves it, doesn't he? Right, with what are we, 90? With 5 minutes to go. Extra time. It's West Ham 5.
Oh, he's gone. I think he's been waving too much at Tony Gale. Must be a bittersweet afternoon.
I don't know what happened there. West Ham 5, and it's Fulham 5, West Ham 0. That's it. Let me get it right.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. West Ham trailing by 5 goals to 0, not leading.
That's right.
5-0. There was a little bit of hope there for the West Ham fans listening in, but no, it's Fulham 5, West Ham 0. Deep into stoppage time in the game between Luton Town and Manchester City. Let's go across to Kenilworth Road. Luton Town have just actually had a little bit of a shout for a penalty before we go over. Chong has gone and hooked the ball, and it's literally from point blank range. It's hit the arm of Jack Grealish. It's not going to even be checked, I don't think. Well, VAR have got a quick look. Let's go quickly to Kenilworth Road for an update. Luton are giving it a right old go, aren't they, Ash?
Yeah, they certainly are, Luton. They had a couple of free kicks just outside the edge of the 18-yard box, to be honest with you. They're really trying to put the pressure on. And Man City, to be fair, they're just holding on at the moment. But the experience at the moment of Manchester City, they're just really defending doggedly. Ruben Diaz, the tower of a man, he's really pulling the strings at the back, organising everyone. There's a lot of high fives going on with blocks of shots and things like that. But at the moment, Manchester City are really digging in, and this will be a huge 3 points to stop that rot from no winning for Manchester City. So they'll be really looking to put this game to bed and get a little bit closer to that top of the league.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And there has been another goal at Goodison Park, but has it gone to Chelsea or has it gone to Everton? I can tell you it's been scored by Everton. It's 2-0 in stoppage time. Everton 2, Chelsea 0. Let's head to Richard Bond, who can tell us all about that late goal for Everton.
I think I cursed the keeper of Chelsea, Petrovic, because he's had an absolute howler here. And it's the first goal for Everton for Lewis Dobin. And it's a good finish in the end, but it was poor keeping. A corner came in from Everton on the left-hand side, and it was half cleared, resulting in a bit of a foul just on the edge of the box. Free kick come back in, and Petkovic then trying to scramble it away, it's failed to, just goes nicely to Dobin at the back post just to head into an empty net. And I tell you what, looks like 3 points going to Goodison again this afternoon. Everton 2, Chelsea 0.
Thank you very much. The final whistle's not far away now. Let's turn our attentions to our big game in the Bundesliga later on. Paul James will be watching Caen against Mainz. Two teams desperate for points down at the bottom. Good afternoon to you, Paul. You got some team news for us, I understand.
Yes, good afternoon, Barry. Cologne, who have failed to keep a clean sheet in their last 10 home games, make 3 changes to the lineup. Rasmus Carstensen comes in for Luca Killian. Luca Waldschmidt comes in for Florian Kainz, and Stefan Tiggs comes in for Davy Schelke. Those are the changes for FC Cologne from their 1-0 win away at Darmstadt. For Mainz, They make 2 changes themselves. Jonathan Burkhart comes in for Jae Sung Lee, and Dominique Kaur comes in for Marco Richter. The only changes from their 1-0 defeat at Freiburg. Home versus Mainz at the Reinhard Energie Stadion. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Really looking forward to that one. Should be a cracking game. Paul James will be keeping a very close eye on that one in, where are we? Around about 35 minutes' time. That game will be kicking off alongside Tottenham against Newcastle. We heard the team news from that. And Lyon against Toulouse. An action-packed second half of the show coming up. We'll get the full-time reports later on in the show. For now, though, we're going to hand back to Brille FM and to FJ. Very good afternoon to you, FJ. So far, so good. We've managed to hunt down a total of 10 goals, and 2 of those games still going on. And we've got Tottenham and Newcastle to come. Back to you, FJ.
Hit it, boys.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
What an afternoon it's been so far. We will hear full-time reports in just a moment from all of the games that have been played this afternoon in the Premier League. They're still going on in the Bundesliga. We'll be across to Richard Freckleton for the latter stages of the game between Stuttgart and Bayer Leverkusen. Let's go around the grounds. First of all, we'll hear about Chelsea, another defeat for them away at Everton this afternoon. It finished Everton 2, Chelsea 0. Richard Bond, another defeat for Mauricio Pochettino.
Yes, another defeat for Mario Pochettino, and yes, all over here at Goodison Park. Everton beating Chelsea by 2-0 to win 3 games in a row for the first time since 2021. After a slow first half, Everton took the game by the scruff of the neck, taking the lead in the 54th minute with Abdoulaye Doucouré firing his 6th of the season on his 100th appearance for the club after Robert Sanchez failed to hold on to Dominic Calvert-Lewin's low shot. Chelsea had the majority of possession but were found lacking in the final thirds. The hosts defended resolutely throughout, with Jordan Pickford largely a bystander in the Toffees' goal. Pochettino will also be cursing his luck, losing captain Reece James and goalkeeper Robert Sanchez to injury before Everton landed a hammer blow to finally ruin the Argentinians' afternoon. Lewis Dobin pouncing on debutant Georgi Petrovic, late error to slot home and seal the 3 points for the home side. It's first for the club, greeted with a fist pump from manager Sean Dyche, who now sees his side move 4 points clear of the relegation zone, their 7th win in the last 10 games. As for Chelsea, they dropped to 12th, their first back-to-back defeats under Pochettino, and with pressure mounted on their manager, their beleaguered fans will be demanding a reaction against basement club Sheffield United at Stamford Bridge next weekend. Today, though, it's Chelsea who are unstuck at Goodison. It finished Everton 2, Chelsea 0.
2-0 to the Toffees. Chelsea have won 39 points from 39 Premier League games in 2023 so far. No ever-present Premier League side have won fewer in this period of time. When I say ever-present, I mean they were in the Premier League last season and this season, so they weren't promoted from last season's Championship or relegated to this season's Championship. And yes, 39 points from 39 games in 2023. And I'm sure most Chelsea fans out there listening will agree that that simply is not good enough. Right. Okay, from Goodison Park, the inform Everton, to Craven Cottage and the inform Fulham. And a comprehensive victory this afternoon for Fulham, as Pat Moret is going to tell us all about it.
Yep, definitely. West hammered by 5-star Fulham. Like that, don't you? Right, it all started pretty quietly. I would say quietly, but Fulham had the majority of possession. On 22nd, Paulina found Jimenez in the box. Nice header, 1-0. That's on 22. Then William on the left-hand side. William was on the left-hand side, Arobi on the right-hand side. Wonderful cross, low cross on a 31 minutes. William made it 2-0. Then the game went to a bit of a lull. Nothing really happened until they got a corner. And then it was Tosin who rose like a salmon, 3-0. Then a half-time was 3-0. Second half, made a few substitutions. Wilson came on, he made a change as well. He did on 60 minutes. He actually picked out a pass from Kearney on the right side of the box. A curl and left foot shot, top right-hand corner. Wonderful goal. and 4-0, and more changes. Vinicius came on, and West Ham had a few changes as well. Nothing really happened until the 89th minute when West Ham pushed up, a ball over the top. Wilson got hold of it. He then passed it to Vinicius, and Vinicius just tucked the ball in. So it finished with West Ham, with Fulham 5, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much, Pat. And looking at the Premier League table, 10th Fulham, 11th Chelsea, 12th Brentford. Fulham, the highest placed West London club at the moment between those three. A little battle going on in the mid-table between those three. Teams are in the tunnel, White Hart Lane. Just getting the pictures here. They're turning the paraphernalia on and off. They can flash on all the floodlights now at most of these Premier League grounds, probably except Kenilworth Road, I would imagine. And they are flashing the lights at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The mascots are in the tunnel. One of them, he must be about 5 years old. He's doing all these stretches at the moment and putting an hilarious face. Will be across to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in a little while. In the meantime, let's hear from Ange Postecoglou.
I don't have a 3 or 5 year plan up my sleeve that's guaranteed for success. What I do have is a plan that I think will get us to where we need to be. How long that takes, I don't know. It depends on sort of how we keep sort of, like I said, discipline in sticking the path, because ultimately, whether it's this challenge, there'll be another challenge in 6 months' time, there'll be another one. Even if you have success, there's a challenge there, you know, really focus you are and how committed you are to go on the path that you've started. And I'm unwavering with that, you know, I just will not budge in terms of, because I just think, that's what I believe is the best way forward.
That was Ange Postecoglou talking about his vision going forward. We'll turn our attentions to that game in a second. Let's quickly go to our featured match in the Bundesliga. The two teams coming out at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's go to the Bundesliga, shall we? And our featured game this afternoon. We're into the latter stages now, and it's well, the last time we were there, it's 1-1. Any change, Richard Freckleton?
No, Barry, it is still Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1. I have to say I've been very impressed by Stuttgart. They've weathered the storm since the equaliser from Bayer Leverkusen, because they piled on the pressure, Leverkusen. But they were brilliantly marshalled by the defence that they had there, and the goalkeeper, Nubel, didn't have much to do so far. But there's still about 2-3 minutes left of injury time, and it's looking like it's going to head out into a draw, but you just never can tell, because they are still going forward a lot. The Bayer Leverkusen team, Frimpong is playing a good role, and I was quite surprised that the striker Boniface was substituted with about 25 minutes left on the clock, considering he's their top goal scorer. But as I speak, it is still 1-1 between Stuttgart and Bayer Leverkusen.
Thank you very much, Richard. We'll come back to you for a full-time report in a few minutes' time. Let's head to John Kane and the latest odds with NairaBet, looking ahead to this big game this afternoon between Tottenham Hotspur and Newcastle United.
The latest in-play betting odds from NairaBet.
Yes, I'll say the latest in play odds, but it's not quite just yet. 2 minutes to go till kick-off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham are 2.05 for the win. The draw is 4.0, and Newcastle to win this are 3.30. If we're talking about goals, if you think it's going to be more than 2.5 goals, is 1.50. If you think it's going to be over 3.5 goals, is 2.20. And if you think it's going to be over 4.5 goals, it's 3.75. Now, give you quite quick other odds on that game. Tottenham, if you think Tottenham total goals is going to be over 1.5, so they need 2 goals or more in the game, they are a good 2.10. And if you think Newcastle, sorry, I do beg your pardon. No, I'll correct myself. If you think it's over 1.5 goals for Spurs in the game, they are 1.67. And if you think it's over 1.5 goals for Newcastle, they are 2.15. Goal scorers, Heung-min Son, he's on 5.25 to score first. Anthony Gordon, he's on 8.50 to score first. Also, we got people like Brian Johnson, he's on 7.0 to score. So I'm going to look at a few others, possibly Joe Linton, he's got a good record. He's 13.0. And if you think Kieran Trippier to score first against his old club, he is 41.0. That's the early odds for this game. We'll go back to Barry and we'll come back to you for later odds. But of course, all these prices are from NairaBet and they're all subject to change.
Thank you very much, John. Just before kick-off, they're literally just about to kick off. We'll be with Billy Andrews very shortly. But let's hear from the Newcastle United manager, Eddie Howe. He likes what Spurs are doing at the moment.
I think we have to be very positive in our approach. We're very, very keen to move on from this game and start to build our away form back to the level it was last year. I think Tottenham have certainly changed a lot of their build-up patterns, their formation, the way they play is totally different. I think I've enjoyed definitely watching them play. Free scoring early season, a lot of interesting rotations and movements. So yeah, I think he's done very well in a short period of time to implement his philosophy.
So that was Eddie Howe. Interesting stat for you here. Should Newcastle beat Tottenham Hotspur today, it will be the first time Spurs have lost 3 meetings in a row against Newcastle, home and away, since the spell in April 2006 and March 2008. So, well, first of all, we need to tell you about a goal in one of our featured matches.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's come in France, and my goodness me, do they need a pick-me-up at the moment. Lyon are bottom of the table. They've played Champions League football regularly in the recent past, and they are bottom with just 1 win all season. But the former Arsenal man, Alexandre Lacazette, has scored for Lyon. It's Lyon 1, Toulouse 0. There's around about 26 minutes gone. We'll catch up with Alec Hughes, our reporter on that game, to hear about that goal in just a few moments' time. In the meantime, they've kicked off in the game between Tottenham Hotspur and Newcastle. We'll be across to Billy Andrews in a short while, and our featured match in the Bundesliga, 0-0 between Köln and Mainz. Staying in the Bundesliga, let's head back one more time, shall we, for a full-time report in the game between Stuttgart and Leverkusen with Richard Freckleton.
Yes, it's finished here. Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1. It was a promising start between these two sides, with Stuttgart scoring in the 40th minute, where it was a lovely weighted ball from Wegerlund for a simple tap-in for Führich just before half-time. And they thoroughly deserved it, because they put a lot of pressure on Hradecki in the Bayer Leverkusen goal. And out of the two teams, they were the better side, that's for sure. But obviously a little bit of a tongue lashing, I would imagine, from the manager of Bayer Leverkusen, which is Xabi Alonso. They came out firing, and it wasn't too long before they got that equaliser on the 47th minute, where the equaliser was thoroughly deserved, where Boniface put in a beautiful cross for a simple tap-in for Wirtz, who was very quiet in the first half, but he was very instrumental in the second half. The second half, they kept on bombing forward, putting a lot of pressure on the Stuttgart goal, but they were resolute, and Nubo was well protected by his back four. And I think at the end of the day, both teams will be happy with a point. And Bayer Leverkusen, they're now, 4 points ahead of Bayern Munich at the top of the Bundesliga. But here we are, it's the end of this game, and it's finished 1-1 between Stuttgart and Bayer Leverkusen.
Thank you very much for that, Richard, this afternoon. And I can tell you that whilst we're just about to go and hear about that goal in France for Lyon.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
They've gone and got another one. It's Lyon 2, Toulouse 0. Change your manager, look what it does to you. 2-0 up, Lyon this afternoon against Toulouse. And we will go across and hear from Alec about both of those goals in a short while. We was just about to go to him and hear about the first goal. Let's wait until he gets his composure together. And well, whilst we're doing that, I'll tell you what, let's get across to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and let's talk to Billy Andrews. Around about 4 minutes gone. Any sign of life from Spurs as a reaction from their poor performance midweek against West Ham United and vice versa, I suppose, with Newcastle, who were very poor at Everton? Any reaction from either of these sides making a good start in this game?
Well, Tottenham have made a good start. Lovely back heel from a Doogie to find Richarlison, but his shot was blocked twice by Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes. But Tottenham are seeing all of the ball in the opening few minutes. Newcastle really struggling to see any of the ball. They win it back and they lose it straight again. But a couple of interesting stats. We talked about Miguel Almiron earlier. He did score in last season's 2-1 win for Newcastle over Spurs. And the second most chances made from open play in the Premier League this season, well, that belongs to Dejan Kulusevski. So there's a lot of creativity on show at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium today. Richarlison's just trying to find his boots. He's claiming a handball from Bruno Guimaraes, but it flicked up off the back of his boot and hit his arm, so he's not going to get that one. Tottenham seeing all the ball at the moment. It's still 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Still 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Newcastle scrambled to clear the ball away from a Spurs corner, but they've been the better side in the opening 6 minutes or so. Let's head to Germany, shall we? It's Köln against Mainz this afternoon. Mainz dropped to the bottom yesterday with Union Berlin winning for the first time in, oh goodness knows how long. Köln currently in the relegation places as well, or in the playoff place, certainly 1 point above Mainz. This is a big one. How's it going early doors? Paul James?
Well, we've already had a chance, Barry, and it's fallen to Mainz. The cross came in from Thomas Kraus, and, well, Burkhardt had all the time in the world in the penalty area to strike the shot, but getting across, making a wonderful defensive interception was Jan Thielmann. And early on, Mainz have really piled on the pressure at the moment, and it's currently Köln 0, Mainz 0.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. Let's head and hear about those, not one, but 2 goals for Lyon. Well, they haven't scored many this season, but they scored 2 very early on in this game. And the second one also coming from Alexandre Lacazette. To tell us about that Lacazette double, it's Alec Hughes. Good afternoon, Alec.
Yeah, good afternoon, Barry, and good afternoon, listeners, and welcome to the Groupama Stadium. And the leading score is Olympic Lyon 2 after 30 minutes. And both goals coming from Alexandre Lacazette. The first, the corner came in from the left-hand side. It was nodded on by Jake O'Brien, and Lacazette took a touch before prodding it past the 18-year-old Toulouse goalkeeper, Restes. And Toulouse have been all over the place from defensive set pieces, and Lyon have looked pretty bright in that regard. The next one came in from a pinball situation in the Toulouse area. Tolisso firing the ball against the post. It comes back out to Lacazette, who smashed it home. And Lacazette could be the striker that they need for this relegation battle that they're in at the moment. A proven goal scorer, and he's got 2 here today. It's 30 minutes gone here, and it's Lyon 2, Toulouse 0.
Thank you very much, Alec. Let's head back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham are looking bright early on. Richarlison looking lively. Billy Andrews.
Yeah, Richarlison looking lively as Bruno Guimaraes fires one just over the top of Vicario's crossbar. That was wicked from the Brazilian midfielder. Lovely work by Anthony Gordon to set up Joe Linton to pull that back for his fellow Brazilian. But Richarlison, another Brazilian, looking very lively up top for Spurs, although he hasn't scored for Tottenham in his last 19 appearances for the club. All that money they spent on him when he left Everton, I bet they wish they'd spent it on someone else at the moment, but it can score goals. We did see that for Everton. I'm sure it'll come if he keeps playing like he is already today, but still, after 7 minutes, 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Thanks very much, Billy. So just to recap on the scores of the 3 games that we're watching at the moment. Lyon 2-0 up on Toulouse in France. 2 goals from Lacazette. Goalless in the Premier League between Tottenham and Newcastle. Still in the opening 10 minutes or so there. And Köln 0, Mainz 0 in the German Bundesliga. Earlier on today, in the Women's Super League, a bad day for the leaders and the reigning champions Chelsea. They lost 4-1 at the Emirates against Arsenal. Excellent result for Arsenal. Everton 2, Chelsea 0 in the Premier League. Luton 1, Manchester City 2. Manchester City coming from 1-0 down at half-time to take all 3 points there. And for the second game in a row, Fulham 5-0 winners at home. Nottingham Forest on Wednesday. And today, the London Derby, Fulham 5, West Ham 0. They really are flying at the moment, Fulham. And they go to Newcastle next weekend, which you'll hear right here on Football Live. Newcastle at the moment hanging on to hope in the Champions League and playing second fiddle at the moment to Spurs, who are keeping the ball well. But then they did early on against West Ham on Wednesday, but it didn't come to Thursday, in fact it was, wasn't it? And it didn't come to anything. Let's go back and hear from Billy Andrews about a chance that's gone the way of the visitors, Newcastle United.
And it's that Tottenham Hotspur high line playing, being undone again like we saw against Chelsea. This time it's Joe Linton with a fantastic ball over the top to Anthony Gordon. He's in his own half, so he can't be offside. He races through the Tottenham Hotspur half and pulls it across the middle of the penalty area, looking for Alexander Isak. He gets a small touch on it from Ben Davies and then cannons off of Isak's shin and goes out for a goal kick. But that is a warning sign to Spurs that Newcastle have pace on the break to beat that high line that they do like to play under Ange Postecoglou. So they're going to have to watch that one and watch the offside and watch Anthony Gordon. But a great chance for Isak and Newcastle. Just coming up to 10 minutes, still 0-0.
Thank you very much, Billy. Of course, last night, big game that we covered here on Football Live. Aston Villa scoring early on to beat Arsenal by 1-0. Here is the Arsenal skipper, Martin Odegaard, obviously very disappointed with the result at Villa Park.
I think in front of the goals, I think we had enough chances to win the game, and yeah, I felt like they didn't create anything apart from the goals. So yeah, definitely in front of the goals. I think that's where we lost it.
I suppose quite uncharacteristic for you not be able to finish those chances. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I don't know. It happens sometimes, but it's frustrating. Of course, I had a few myself, so that's annoying. But the only thing you can do is keep going and bounce back in the next one. So that's what we're going to do now.
And that's what they'll be aiming to do. Arsenal, they're already through in the Champions League, of course. And so they'll probably recycle the team somewhat in midweek for their last Matchday 6 Champions League group match. They are through to the knockout stages, the round of 16. Let's head back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Billy Andrews, both these sides, we mentioned it earlier, really desperate to bounce back from dreadful results midweek. And certainly at the moment, I think Tottenham probably the happier of the two with the first, 12 minutes or so.
Probably the happier of the two, other than that scare from Anthony Gordon running all the way through their half. They have just won a corner off of Kieran Trippier. No, I think the flag has gone up for an offside. But they had poor results in midweek, both these teams. I think Spurs would be probably looking at that West Ham result earlier, thinking, well, why couldn't we put 5 past them on Thursday night? But Spurs, no win in their last 5. Newcastle have lost 5 games all season, and Spurs have lost their last 3 home games. It's their worst run since May 2023. So there's improvements to be made, but I think Ange Postecoglou will be relatively the happier of the two managers in the opening 12 minutes. But Newcastle start to see more of the ball, and Guimaraes and Joe Linton in that midfield pivot looking more and more influential as the game goes on. Still 0-0.
And of course, they've got this big game coming up on, I think it's Wednesday, isn't it? Newcastle against Milan. I can see them beating Milan, but they're relying on results elsewhere, aren't they? But they've still got a chance, haven't they? I think they've got more of a chance than Manchester United, in my opinion.
Well, exactly. They've got more of a chance of United because it's a winnable game that they've got. They can do their bit, and yeah, they have to rely on some other results. But we saw that game against PSG at St James's Park. Fantastic atmosphere. The players were up for it completely. It hurts not having the likes of Sven Botman. I think Eddie Howe, if you gave him a chance, he wouldn't like to play Jamal Lascelles, and now there's a slight concern for Fabian Schär. Went down holding his hip after a collision with Dejan Kulusevski. But big night. Milan are there for the taking. We saw what happened with Atalanta yesterday. Luis Muriel's last minute back-heeled winner. So Milan leak goals. As long as Newcastle can be solid, they will create chances with this team. And Milan could be on the end of something quite embarrassing.
Looking forward to that one on Wednesday night. Newcastle against AC Milan. Spurs 3 shots, none on target so far. Newcastle 2 shots, none on target so far. Neither goalkeeper has been worked into action, and it remains therefore 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A quick look ahead to tomorrow, Monday night. 2 matches in Italy, struggling. Cagliari are playing Sassuolo in a big game down at the bottom. Empoli against Lecce is another match between 2 sides looking for points to pull away from the wrong end of the Serie A table. In Spain, Celta Vigo are currently in the relegation zone, but they're looking to change that when they go to Rayo Vallecano. And in the English League, 3rd tier, League One, it's first against second at Fratton Park. 2 former Premier League clubs against one another. It's Portsmouth against Bolton Wanderers. You are listening to Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
Football Live will be returning to Brila FM next Saturday afternoon, when the Premier League will be in full flow once again. Chelsea are in action at Stamford Bridge against the bottom of the table Sheffield United. Newcastle United put their excellent home form on the line against Fulham. Champions Manchester City take on Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. And in Italy, Victor Osimhen is in action as Napoli take on Cagliari. All that live football action to look forward to next weekend, right here on Brila FM on Football Live.
Christmas time is for giving out presents, and NairaBet are giving away up to 91,500 Naira in free bets. To enter, just place a bet with the same number of selections as the day of the month. It is that easy. So on the 24th of December, if you place a bet with 24 selections, you will receive up to a 250% match of your stake as a free bet. Head over to www.nairabet.com to get involved today. Must be over 18. Minimum odds per selection of 1.2. Minimum total bet slip odds of 1.5. Qualifying bets must be settled on that specific day. General and free bet terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Football Live. Football's never sounded so good on Brila FM every Saturday and Sunday.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Let's head straight back into the Bundesliga, shall we? Köln and Mainz are playing big game down at the bottom. And another chance for, well, it's for Köln this time, Paul James.
Yes, Barry, that's right. It was a wonderful run by Luka Waldschmidt, who got himself into the penalty area totally unchallenged and struck a shot to the left-hand side of Daniel Batz, who made a smart save. But just going up the other end, just as you arrived, Philip Mwene got inside the penalty area and had a shot as well, forcing a save from Marvin Schwab. But it is still Köln 0, Mainz 0, Barry.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. Let's head back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where Miguel Almiron is showing off his acting skills, Billy Andrews.
Yeah, he's not a very good actor. I'm glad he's a better footballer than he is an actor. It's a bit embarrassing from the Paraguayan, actually. Son, they both chased for a ball, Son and Almiron, and Son just put his arm out to try and block Almiron off. Caught him in the neck, his forearm, and he went down clutching his face like he'd been punched in the nose by Mike Tyson. Another chance for Spurs came from a corner. It was whipped in by Pedro Porro. It fell to Christian Romero, whose header was cleared about a foot away from the line, this time by Jamal Lascelles. Tottenham starting to reassert the dominance. Newcastle seeing less of the ball than they were in the previous 5 or so minutes. But still, as we approach 20 minutes in, 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Shall we check in France? Alec Hughes has been providing us with all the goals in the second part of the show so far. Alec, Lyon comfortable at the moment. Are they beginning to find some confidence that they've been lacking all season?
Yeah, it looks like it, and they look really, really up for this game. Max Kakare in midfield has been first to a lot of loose balls, and he and Tolisso look like they're controlling it well in midfield, and the team is growing in confidence, as you say, and especially down the right-hand side with their Angolan right-back, Clinton Mata, and he's linking well with Ernest Nuama, and the pair have combined for a lot of near opportunities for Lyon on the right-hand side, and they definitely look dominant. And actually, just before you came to me, Vincent Sierro is now going to be walking a tightrope for the rest of the game because he had to cynically take down Clinton Mata as he spun away from him. Defensively, they look pretty good as well, Lyon, I have to say. They look compact, and it looks good, all good for Lyon, and this could be a really, really big result for them.
Thank you very much for that, Alec, and we'll be straight back across as and when the games try and unfold with goals, we hope. But we've seen 2 in that game in France already, 2 from Lacazette, and they are leading 2-0 down. And my goodness me, do they need the points at the moment. In Portugal, Leo Jaba has scored for Estrela, who lead Boa Vista by a goal to 0, and in Italy, Nathan Germa has scored for Reggiana in the second tier against Brescia, leading that one by a goal to 0. 20 minutes gone at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Still 0-0. Let's go across to Billy Andrews, who can tell us about a good chance for Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, and it's Richarlison. It's fallen to again. The ball's worked out to the left wing by Ben Davies to Heung-min Son. Takes one touch to get it out of his feet and whips in a really dangerous cross, and it's just in front of Richarlison, who throws his body at it, but it goes straight into the grateful arms of Martin Dubravka. And he just looked like he was on his heels a little bit there at Richarlison, not really anticipating that cross from Son. They do have Alejo Veliz on the bench. He must be sat there thinking, what must I do to get a start over a player that hasn't scored in, well, if he doesn't score today, it will be his last 20 appearances for Spurs. But just gone up to 22 minutes, still 0-0.
Still 0-0 there. Lyon 2, Toulouse 0 in France is our featured game where there is a goal, and there's also a penalty in that game. Toulouse have just been awarded a penalty. We'll be straight across to Alec Hughes to hear all about that in a few moments' time. Quick look at the Champions League in the meantime. Coming up this mid-week, Manchester United host Bayern Munich on Tuesday in a must-win game. Bayern already through as group winners. United will join them only with a win in the game between Copenhagen and Galatasaray, ending in a draw. United currently bottom of Group A going into match day 6. And, a draw at home to Braga will be enough for Napoli to qualify from Group C. All eyes on Group F. Newcastle, we just mentioned it with Billy Andrews, didn't we? They will go through if they can beat AC Milan at St James's Park. And they can do themselves a favour there. But they need a favour from Dortmund to stop PSG winning in Germany. In Group H, Porto host Shakhtar in a shootout for second spot behind Barcelona. A lot of the groups are already done and dusted, but that's where there is still business to be attended to. It sounds like Toulouse have missed that penalty away at Lyon at the Groupama Stadium. We'll be straight across there to hear just how that penalty has been missed by Toulouse with Alec Hughes in just a couple of minutes' time. So, earlier on today, Everton 2, Chelsea 0. Not a good afternoon for Chelsea. Fulham 5, West Ham 0. Not a good afternoon for West Ham. And Manchester City winning 2-1 at Kenilworth Road against Luton Town. Sean Longstaff currently warming up for Tottenham Hotspur. And let's go across, because he's warming up actually for Newcastle, not for Tottenham. It's not a transfer that you've missed out on. But another chance, Billy Andrews, for Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, there's more of a half chance for Richarlison, really. He picks up the ball from Destiny Adugi and worked it out to Pape Sarr. He found Brennan Johnson, who whipped a first-time cross in, and it's just ahead of Richarlison. But it's another one that could be could go down as a decent chance for Richarlison, and Sean Longstaff warming up because Joe Linton sat down with an injury, collided with Yves Bissouma in the build-up to that chance for Richarlison. And Tottenham dominating the ball in Newcastle's half. They've had 47 final third successful passes to Newcastle's 4. But Joe Linton's up and walking around and smiling, so I think Sean Longstaff won't be needed just yet. But 24 minutes gone, still 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, it's still 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We mentioned earlier Luton 1, Manchester City 2. That was a result at Kenilworth Road. Watching for Football Live was Ash Sanderford.
Full time here at Kenilworth Road. It's finished Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2, and a great start for Luton Town in that first half. To be honest with you, Manchester City had majority of the play with plenty of possession, but in the end, after 47 minutes, 2 minutes into stoppage time in that first half, a goal from Elijah Adebayo, heading the ball from across from Andros Townsend. Great bullet header into the back of the net, no chance Edison, and in at half time, Luton went in. Good start again from Luton in that second half, managing the game quite well, but in the end, Manchester City's quality and dominance took its toll. And after 62 minutes, Bernardo Silva with a great flashed finish with a little bit of a mistake in the end. Rodri bearing down on goal, got taken out, could have been a penalty, but in the end, Bernardo Silva caressed it into the bottom right-hand corner. No chance for the Luton Town keeper. And again, a few minutes later, near enough a few seconds later, I should say, a mistake from Amari Bell, dawdling on the ball. He tried to just flick it back to his other partner, centre-half, and in the end, down the right-hand side, Julian Alvarez got to the byline. Kevin De Bruyne-esque right-footed cross, right to the back. Jack Grealish with his left foot, first time across the keeper, and that was the game done. But in the end, Luton should be really proud of themselves. Two huge teams have come at Kenilworth Road, and they've managed to, again, only lose by 1 goal. They got great spirit, but in the end, it was Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2.
Yes, well, they've got a lot to do, haven't they, Luton Town, just to stay up. But there's been a goal in the Premier League.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And they're dancing in the streets of Tottenham because Spurs have taken the lead against Newcastle United. It's Tottenham Hotspur 1, Newcastle United 0, and we'll be across to Billy Andrews in just a moment to tell us all about the goal. And, well, Spurs needed that. They got themselves ahead. They got their noses in front against West Ham in midweek, but the second half performance was a very disappointing one. And it's come from Udogie, who's scored the goal for Tottenham Hotspur at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And to tell us all about it, Billy Andrews.
Yeah, Tottenham Hotspur lead by 1-0, and it's no less than they deserve for the opening 25 minutes or so. Fantastic teamwork from the Spurs side, working it from right to left from Pedro Porro into Udogie. Good turn to get away from Almiron. Found Heung-min Son. A few step-overs to get past Kieran Trippier and fired a low ball across the middle of the penalty area. And there was Destiny Udogie to just, well, tap it in from 3 or 4 yards in past Martin Dubravka. His first Tottenham goal. It's no less than they deserve. 27 minutes gone at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Tottenham Hotspur 1, Newcastle 0.
Thank you very much, Billy. Newcastle have already lost 5 of their 15 Premier League games this season. They only lost 5 in the entirety of last season when finishing in the top 4. So this would be a 6th defeat for them if they were to lose today at Tottenham Hotspur. Spurs 1, Newcastle United 0. And that Champions League dream that they managed to soak up at the end of last season is beginning to take its toll a little bit on Newcastle United in the league form. They are 1-0 down at Spurs this afternoon. Right, let's hear, shall we, from Harvey Elliott. He scored the winning goal for Liverpool at Crystal Palace yesterday afternoon.
No, you know, it's always a great feeling, and you know, especially to win the game as well. Selhurst Park, tough place to come, you know, against a tough team, and I think once again this season, you know, we've shown the resilience to keep on going and not give up until the final whistle. And yeah, today come away with the 3 points, which is good.
So that was Harvey Elliott scored that late goal to give Liverpool all 3 points at Selhurst Park yesterday. On to the here and now. Should we catch up with some latest odds?
The latest in-play betting odds from NairaBet.
Yes, the latest odds from NairaBet. Of course, all these prices are subject to change. 28 minutes gone in the English Premier League. It's Tottenham Hotspur 1, Newcastle 0. Tottenham are 1.44 for the win. The draw is 5.0 and Newcastle away win is 7.0. The game Ligue 1 between Lyon and Toulouse. It's 2-0 at half-time for Lyon. Lyon more or less next to nothing is 1.06. The draw is 15.0 and Toulouse away win, turn it around, is 41.0, and Toulouse did miss a penalty towards the end of that first half. I can tell you, Toulouse has just gone down to 34.0 and the draw just gone up to 17.0. And the other games are happening as well in the Dutch Eredivisie. Vitesse are playing Heracles. Vitesse are leading by a goal to nil after 56 minutes. Vitesse are 1.44 for the win. The draw is 4.0 and Heracles are 9.50 to win that game. The other game that we'll concentrate on in the German Bundesliga. 29 minutes gone. It's still 0-0 between Cologne and Mainz. Cologne are 3.20 for the win. The draw is 2.88 and just gone down for Mainz for 2.60. So just a reminder for the Spurs-Newcastle game. Spurs are 1.44 for the win. The draw is 5.0 and Newcastle, in fact, just gone to 6.50. So just gone down from 7. Of course, all these prices are courtesy of NairaBet and it's all subject to change.
Thank you very much, John Kane. So that's you up to date with your latest odds. Back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Billy Andrews, chance for Newcastle United.
Yeah, almost an immediate reply from the visitors. It was lovely work from Almiron. Up against Destiny Aduji, the goal scorer. Lewis Miley with the overlap. He pulled it back across goal and Joe Linton's shot was blocked by Yves Bissouma. They had the corner, it was cleared. And interestingly enough, Tottenham haven't conceded a single goal from corners this season. And there's just been another chance for Spurs. This time it was Brennan Johnson playing it in the penalty box. It was met by Pape Sarr, and he got his shot all wrong and dragged it wide. Richarlison and Son were behind him, probably both screaming for him to leave it. He took it on himself and missed, but just over half an hour gone. Tottenham still ahead. It's 1-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Thank you very much, Billy. We'll be straight across to Billy, and we're keeping tabs on Tottenham Hotspur against Newcastle, Lyon against Toulouse, and of course our game in the Bundesliga this afternoon, the big relegation battle between FC Köln and Mainz, which is taking place before our very eyes at the Rhein Energy Stadion. Tottenham Hotspur ahead and dominating in their game. Let me tell you, the final whistle was blown in the CAF Confederation Cup Group C match. Good result for Rivers United. That first half goal from Nyimba Nwagua has been enough to see them take all 3 points against Club African. 1-0 win for them, and with the other game in that group being a draw, it's been a very good afternoon for Rivers United, so well done to them picking up maximum points this afternoon. Let's tell you what, let's go around the ground, shall we? We'll start in Germany, the Bundesliga, Köln against Mainz. It's a game that's being watched by Paul James, and Paul, still looking for that first goal. Who's winning on the balance of play?
Well, you have to say it's Mainz. They've put most of the pressure on. A wonderful cross by Philip Mwene on the left-hand side was met on the back post by Brian Gruder. But Marvin Schwab performed goalkeeping heroics, keeping that out and forcing the corner. Since then, Mainz have had most of the possession and most of the creative play. Unfortunately for them, they've not really been able to turn that into chances. The final ball is just missing for Mainz right now. It's Köln 0, Mainz 0.
Köln 0, Mainz 0. A big chance for Newcastle United. We'll go back to Billy Andrews and hear about that in just a second. First of all, let's go to France and to the Groupama Stadium, where Lyon are leading at half-time. Alex Hughes.
Yeah, it's half-time here, and I don't really know where to start with this one. It's been a crazy couple of minutes. But yeah, I will start with the score. It is 2-0 to Lyon over Toulouse here. But Toulouse missed a penalty on the stroke of half-time. Anthony Lopez redeemed himself, saving the penalty that he gave away. Toulouse top scorer Thies Dailinga shot tamely to the goalkeeper's left, and Lopez pushed it out. There was a brief VAR check just to check and see if Lopez had indeed left his line before the penalty kick was taken, but that was waved away in the end, and the celebrations continued for Lyon, and then they went in at half-time. Both Lyon's goals came from set pieces, both from Alexander Lacazette, and he was first to react to a Jake O'Brien glancing header when he poked home from close range for their first. And his second came after a free kick that was clipped in by Kakare, and the ensuing mess. The ball fell to Tolisso, whose shot cracked against the woodwork, back to Lacazette, who rifled into the net. From open play too, Lyon have been more impressive, particularly down the right-hand side with Mata and Imwara. Very impressive. But at half-time here in the Groupama Stadium, it is Lyon 2, Toulouse 0.
Thank you very much for that, Alec. Half-time, Lyon going the right way about picking up only their second victory of the season. Let's head back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs leading by a 1-0. Big chance for Newcastle United, Billy.
Yeah, big chance for Newcastle. It was a ball given away by Pedro Porro to Alexander Isak. Isak found Anthony Gordon. A lovely little spin from Gordon, and he passed it to Miguel Almiron, but the ball was just behind him. And it was a good save actually from Vicario. He tried to find that bottom left-hand corner, but the Spurs goalkeeper got down quickly. Just another little injury concern for Eddie Howe. Jamal Lascelles not moving properly. Just before Tottenham scored, actually, he had a chance from a free kick, but he got the touch of the ball all wrong, and he collided with the ad board. The left side of his hip collided with the ad board, so he's just walking around a bit tentatively. Fabian Schär had that collision earlier with Kulusevski, but I must say, young Lewis Miley in that centre of midfield for Newcastle looks very, very at home in the Premier League alongside Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes. He's got a big future ahead of him, the young Newcastle midfielder, but still can't find a goal for Newcastle. 34 minutes gone. Tottenham 1, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, he's a good player, Lewis Miley. We've watched him a couple of times. Very impressive young player. Certainly one for the future. So Spurs leading Newcastle by 1-0. We're into the last 9 minutes of the first half in that game. A quick reminder of yesterday's key results in the Premier League and around Europe. Manchester United saw off the manager of the month curse in typical fashion. Erik ten Hag's side collapsing 3-0. Home to Bournemouth. Dominic Solanke amongst the goals. Bayern Munich, well, their afternoon was even worse. They lost for the first time this season in the Bundesliga, 5-1 away at Eintracht Frankfurt at Duisbank Park. 2 goals for Dino Ebimba. Can Leverkusen make the most today? Well, the answer is no. They were held 1-1 by fellow high flyers Stuttgart, and Union Berlin, 1 win now in 17. Their first win in 17 was yesterday. They beat Mönchengladbach. That win sees them not only climb off the bottom of the table, but climb out of the relegation zone, the bottom 3 as well in the Bundesliga. Wilfred Ndidi, the Nigerian, scoring in the English Championship as Leicester cemented their place on top of the table. And there's been a goal in the Premier League.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's Tottenham Hotspur 2, Newcastle United 0. Sit down in your seats, relax. Richarlison scored. That's right, Richarlison has scored for Tottenham Hotspur. He sticks his tongue out to the crowd, who are jubilant because Spurs winning the ball back in midfield. They overturn Newcastle possession and they get forward in numbers. And it was a mistake at the back from Kieran Trippier that allowed Son to get to the ball. And yes, we will hear all about that goal. Son getting into the box, putting it back, and there was Richarlison to score the goal. We'll hear all about that goal in full detail in just a second with Billy Andrews. But Tottenham Hotspur now leading Newcastle United with around about 6 minutes to go to 7 minutes to go to half time. Tottenham 2, Newcastle United 0. Let's head to Billy Andrews, who can tell us all about a goal that, from a Newcastle point of view, is one that they won't really want to look back on in any fondness at all.
No, and it's one that Kieran Trippier won't want to see again either. But reset the stop clock because it's taken him 19 matches, but he's finally scored again for Tottenham Hotspur. Richarlison, it's actually him that wins the ball back near the halfway line from Bruno Guimaraes and threw himself at the ball in the tackle. He found it to Yves Bissouma. It was a lovely long ball from Pedro Porro towards Son, but it's headed backwards by Kieran Trippier to his former teammate. Gets absolutely stunned by Spurs, by Son, with the skill. He pulls it back to Richarlison and he taps it in past Martin Dubravka didn't even bother diving for it, but that's now 3 mistakes in his last 2 games that have led to goals for Kieran Trippier, after 2 mistakes led to 2 of Everton's goals on Thursday night. But just before half-time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's Spurs 2, Newcastle 0.
Spurs 2, Newcastle 0, and Spurs turning their traffic into goals, unlike they did really against West Ham the other night, and they won't want that mistake to happen again. But they are leading Newcastle 2-0. Newcastle having a horrible time of things at the moment, and Eddie Howe's Waither Finn squad with so many injuries, really having a horrible time of things. Tottenham Hotspur 2, Newcastle United 0. I was mentioning before that goal went in, we was just quickly looking back on some of the results, some of the highlights from yesterday, and I did say that Wilfred Ndidi scored for Leicester as they cemented their place at the top of the Championship. A 4-0 home win for them against Plymouth Argyle. Leeds and Ipswich also winning as well, and yet another Jude Bellingham goal for Real Madrid, but they were unable to win away at Real Betis. Whilst in Scotland, the Nigerian Cyriel Dessers scored as 10-man Rangers come from behind to beat St Mirren at Ibrox. That could be a significant score in the SPFL in Glasgow, because Celtic lost 2-1 today away at Kilmarnock. And that's yesterday's highlights, all just about covered. We did mention early on that Barcelona are playing Girona in the big one, the Catalan derby, later on today in the Spanish La Liga. That is a really, really big one. And like breaking news as well, Stoke City have parted with their manager Alex Neil. He's been sacked. They are in the thick of a relegation battle. They brought him in from Sunderland, and he really hasn't got them going. Stoke City, they just can't seem to buy their way into the top half of the Championship at the moment. Once in the Premier League, they could be playing in League One next season if they're not careful, and they have just sacked Alex Neil as their manager. By the way, Girona in that Catalan derby, if they can win tonight away at Barcelona, they will go top. So plenty at stake. Let's go back to Billy Andrews, shall we? Because there might have been 2 goals in this game, but it's a very open game, and there could have been more since that second goal's gone in.
Yeah, there could have been more. There could have been more before that, and it was like the Arsenal-Aston Villa game yesterday. It's almost like a game of basketball. This game, as a shot's just fired wide past the diving Martin Dubravka from Brennan Johnson. But I just want to talk about the Newcastle forwards, because Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon and Miguel Almiron have had 3 of the fewest touches out of any of the players in this game. Almiron's had 15, Gordon's had 11, and Alexander Isak has only had 8 touches. So that's going to be a worry for Eddie Howe. Just seeing a replay of that Johnson shot. Does just kiss the outside of the post, so unlucky not to have tested Martin Dubravka a bit more there, but Eddie Howe will need to try and get his forwards more involved in the second half. But like I said, they do have that wafer thin squad, and they have got a Champions League game to think about if they're going to go any further in that. But if we come up to half-time, Tottenham 2, Newcastle 0.
Thank you very much, Billy. 2.5 minutes plus injury time left in the first half. Spurs leading and looking good for it at 2-0 this afternoon in the Premier League. Yesterday in the Premier League, we heard a little while ago from one of the Liverpool goal scorers, Harvey Elliott, scoring a late winner in injury time to win it for Liverpool. The first of those 2 goals for Liverpool, and their comeback yesterday to win 2-1 at Palace, having gone 1-0 down to a penalty. The first goal was a 200th goal in Liverpool colours for Mo Salah.
Well, I think the most important thing is that we won the game. It was really tough today, but of course when we win the game and I score goals, it's a great feeling. But yeah, I'm happy for the record and also happy for the team to win the game. Well, I think I see the mentality, like he just keep fighting until the end, and we did that this game and last game and the game before. So it's something positive we take from that. Of course, we have a new team now because there is 6-7 players new in the start line, and we just need to give them our advice from me and Verd and the guys there, and just they're learning a lot, and they're really nice guys and just able to learn. I take that from 2019. I think there is similarity, but of course the other guys also achieve a lot. We need to give them their credit, but I'm sure they are.
So that was Mo Salah. Plenty to say about his goal and his team's performance. A 2-1 win took them to the top of the Premier League, of course. Let's head back, shall we, to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 2-0 up Tottenham, and Billy, another big chance for Spurs.
Yeah, just as you come to me, Richarlison had another chance to score again. The ball's given away, this time by Joe Linton. Ball forward by Duji to Heung-min Son. He charges through the Newcastle half. He's got Kulusevski to the left of him, plays it out to the Swede. His cross takes a deflection, just loops over the diving head of Richarlison. He can't quite get his body there in time, and it goes out for a corner. But that's the story of the Spurs half. They've scored 2 great goals from their perspective, but they could have had more. And let's hope they don't live to regret these chances as Richarlison meets the ball from the corner and heads it straight into the arms of Dubravka. Coming up to half-time, 2-0 to the home side.
It's 2-0 to the home side in our featured game in France. Should we head across and hear about the early exchanges of the second half? I think it's a good time to do so. Alec Hughes is watching Lyon against Toulouse. 2 teams are desperately to win, in particularly Lyon, and they're going the right way around it, aren't they, Alec?
Yeah, they absolutely are. They're 2-0 up here at the Groupama Stadium with 48 minutes gone. So it's Lyon 2, Toulouse 0. Not being too much going on in this second half just yet. Lyon do look really comfortable. And of course, they gave away that penalty at the end of the first half, which maybe tells you why they are in the trouble that they are in. One slight chance here for Toulouse, just before you came to me there. Ball was tipped in towards the back post, and Thais Dajana nearly getting to it, but Jake O'Brien just getting his forehead to it and putting it out for a throw-in. But definitely Toulouse starting to look like they're getting a bit more possession in this second half, and they might make a game of this yet. But it's now 49 minutes gone, and it's Olympique Lyonnais 2, Toulouse 0.
Let's head into Germany, shall we? It's a tight, compact game between Köln and Mainz. Both teams needing 3 points. Both teams certainly need to avoid defeat. Paul James, half-time is approaching. Who would you say is on top so far?
Well, definitely Mainz so far, Barry, but they just seem to be trying to walk the ball into the net. Ajuri had an opportunity right on the edge of the box, fit for a good volley. Instead, he chose to pass the ball to Sylvain Wildmer, but it was a wonderful tackle, in fact, by Timo Hubers to get in the way and block that and cause the corner. Of course, in the right at the other end, there was definitely no possibility that Heinz was going to mess around on the edge of the box. He smacked a wonderful volley from the edge of the penalty area. Unfortunately, though, it was right down the throat of Daniel Batz, and it's Köln 0, Mainz 0.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. And I can tell you the half-time whistle has literally just blown in that game. So it's 0-0 between those two, Köln and Mainz, in the German Bundesliga, our second feature game today, and the first one was all square as well. It's finished Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1. Bayer Leverkusen extending their lead very slightly over Bayern Munich at the top of the table. Stuttgart could have gone above Bayern Munich themselves with a victory, but it was all even between two of the high flyers in the Bundesliga this afternoon. Rivers United have won in the CAF Confederations Cup this afternoon, 1-0 against the Tunisians Club Africain. Good win for them. And as I say, it's half-time in the game between Köln and Mainz. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Tottenham against Newcastle United. Let's go across to Billy Andrews. Billy, half-time is imminent, and Tottenham Hotspur are in control.
Yeah, fully in control. There's just a few flashes of what Newcastle can offer on the counter-attack with that Spurs high line and the pace of Anthony Gordon, but a couple of corners that Newcastle have had that Jamal Lascelles hasn't really anticipated well. They've just had another one and it's just sort of hit him on the shoulder and it's been given back to Spurs. So Eddie Howe's going to have to try and sort things out. Possibility of some substitutes maybe, but like we have said already, they are a bit thin with boots on the ground at the moment. But as we approach half-time, it's Newcastle are losing by 2-0.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Billy. So Spurs 2, Newcastle 0. That is a half-time now, I can tell you. They've just blown the half-time whistle at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So far, so good for Tottenham Hotspur, leading by 2-0. At that juncture, we are going to be handing back very shortly to FJ and the team at Brilla FM. They've got plenty to talk about. The good of Tottenham, the bad of Newcastle, the insignificant of Chelsea early on today. Any West Ham fans out there still reeling for that 5-0 loss this afternoon at Fulham? Manchester City back to winning ways finally. They had to do it the hard way, coming from behind against Luton Town. Let's catch up, shall we, before we go back to FJ and the team. Let's catch up with some of the latest odds in our featured matches this afternoon.
Here's John Kane with all the very latest odds from NairaBet.
Yes, it's at half-time in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Tottenham 2, Newcastle 0, and as expected, Spurs odds are very, very low at the moment. It's 1.08. The draw is 12.0, and for Newcastle turnaround is just gone up to 34.0. In the German Bundesliga, it's half-time there as well, but it's 0-0 between Köln and Mainz. Köln are 3.80 for the win. The draw is 2.50. And Mainz are 2.60. Some of the other games are happening as well. The Lyon game that we're keeping a tab on, it's 55 is going of the second half. It's still Lyon 2, Toulouse 0. Lyon are 1.05 for the win. And the draw is 15.0. And Toulouse to win is 51.0. Italian Serie A, let's give you that as well. It's Salernitana against Bologna. Salernitana are losing at home after 80 minutes by 1-0. They're 11.0 to win at home, turn it around. The draw is 5.50 and Bologna are 1.30 to win that game. So just quick reminder on the Spurs game, it's half-time, 2-0 Tottenham. Tottenham are 1.08 for the win. The draw has just gone down to 11.0. And Newcastle's just gone up to 34.0. And also ignore my Italian Serie A odds because Bologna just scored a second. So it's now Salernitana 0, Bologna 2. So I'm betting is suspended on that. Of course, all the prices are courtesy of NairaBet and it's all subject to change.
Thank you very much, John. Whilst you're there, we might as well have a little chat before we hand back to FJ and the team. Talking about some of the matches that have taken place so far this weekend. Great win yesterday for Aston Villa. Home games against Manchester City and Arsenal. They've gone and picked up all 6 points, haven't conceded a single goal. You've got to take them seriously in the title race now, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way they're placed at the moment, even before the win yesterday, is fantastic. And what Unai Emery have done with that club is absolutely remarkable. And it's only, yes, Arsenal, it didn't work out for him at Arsenal, but I think he did want it to be them. Just to make it a bit extra sweet for him. And it worked out well for him. 3 beautiful points against Arsenal, who are, with their win, will look on top of the league. But now the gap has got even closer between the two. But what Unai Emery is doing at Villa is very, very good. But they're coming in really quietly, aren't they? Not a lot of people noticing them. Everyone's talking about Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, of course, because of that big run they had in the beginning of the season. But no one's talking about Villa yet, and I find it's quite astonishing. But I think from Emery's point of view, it's probably better for him, isn't it? Because it just takes away the pressure off him and the club.
Yes, it does indeed. And at the other end, Sheffield United picking up a good win against Brentford. You look at that bottom three. Burnley picked up a point. Luton gave Manchester City today a very good run for their money. But those 3 promoted sides, if they're not careful, even though they're all picking up points now, they're going to get cut adrift because everyone's picking up points.
No, absolutely. I mean, Sheffield United, they needed that win. It was, I would say it's a great start for Chris Wilder. I know they've lost to Liverpool at midweek, but at the end of the day, they lost 2-0 and Liverpool are on fire at the moment. And yesterday is a game that they have to win. They're at home, they're against one of the other struggling teams in the league. And Chris Wilder got them play football again. It was great to watch as well. Watched the highlights of it last night, and they are sort of like they look very familiar straight away to when his first spell as manager at Sheffield United. Is it a bit too little, too late? We don't know. But in the day, I think the change did happen at the right time. Just before Christmas, it gives Chris Wilder trying to grab as many points as possible with all that festive, the plenty of games that we're going to see in the next few weeks. And who knows, they might actually survive. But from what I saw yesterday, they definitely look a hungry team.
And of course, we're talking about midweek fixtures and then back to the Premier League. 3 games in the space of 7-8 days for most of these teams. And most of the managers are having a bit of a moan about it. But there was something in common with Liverpool and Manchester City this weekend. They've both fallen behind in games they're expecting to win away from home. They've rolled up their sleeves, they've come back and they've won those games. Could be critical in the chase for the Championship, couldn't it? Those wins for Manchester City and for Liverpool away from home.
No, absolutely. I mean, today it was a bit of a scare, wasn't it, for Manchester City going behind to Luton Town, which everyone wasn't expecting them to score a goal, and but they did. Luton played quite well, to be fair to them, but Manchester City literally got the 3 points that they needed, and likewise for Liverpool, it was a big win for them yesterday. And against Palace, people can argue about the VAR issue and the sending off, and that helped Liverpool, but in the day, 3 points are 3 points.
Absolutely. Now, listen, half-time in the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Plenty for Brilla FM listeners to interact with FJ on, in particularly the fact that Richarlison has finally scored a goal for Tottenham Hotspur. It's Tottenham 2, Newcastle 0 at half-time. And it's back to FJ in the Brilla FM studio. Over to you, FJ.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Yes, we're having a bit of a party here in the studio. Tottenham Hotspur, of course, supported by our very own producer today, John Kane. He's a big Spurs fan. He's celebrating his side leading 2-0 at half-time. Of course, I'm a Fulham fan. 5-0 winners today against West Ham. We never beat West Ham. We beat them 5-0 today. So we're having a little bit of a party here in the Football Live studios. So the second half is underway. Let's hope that we don't extinguish John Kane's good mood, that he is currently sitting in the corner with a big smile on his face. We don't want to wipe that off his face. Billy Andrews is watching the early stages of the second half between Tottenham Hotspur and Newcastle United. Same business second half for Tottenham, or are they going to do what they did last time out against West Ham and stop playing at half-time?
Well, at the moment, it's all Newcastle. They're seeing a lot of the ball in the opening 5 minutes or so of this second half, and Alexander Isak, I think, has doubled his touches for the game in the first 4 minutes alone. So whatever Eddie Howe said at half-time is certainly paying off. But just a stat to give John and all the other Spurs fans a bit of festive cheer. When Tottenham have been leading 2-0 at half-time in Premier League matches, that's 25 times they've done that. They've won all 25 of them. So barring some sort of Christmas miracle from Newcastle, history would say that all 3 points are staying with Tottenham. But 5 minutes into the second half, they've just started to get their first few touches of the ball. It's Tottenham Hotspur 2, Newcastle 0.
Just seen a stat, first half, Newcastle successful passes in the final third, in the first half, 16. Already, in 5 minutes of the second half, they've surpassed that with 19. A little indication that they've started the second half well. Still 2-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. Let's dip into the grand old world of Bundesliga. Paul James, early second half. A chance at either end in the game between Köln and Mainz.
Oh yeah, started pretty good this in the second half, Barry. Ajorque finds some space on the edge of the box and curls a beautiful strike, which narrowly missed the top right-hand corner of Marvin Schwab's goal. The goalkeeper wasn't getting anywhere near it, but right up at the other end, Stefan Tiggs on the edge of the box struck a shot, but unfortunately was slipping as he did, and it went straight through to the goalkeeper to easily pick that up. Eric Martel has gone into the book for Köln for a stamping challenge on Tom Kraus. Now, it sounds a lot worse than it was, but it looks like he just got his foot on him. The referee chose the yellow card instead of reaching for red. It was not checked by VAR. Still 0-0 here.
Thank you very much for that update there, Paul. Paul James watching Caen against Mainz. So far, no goals, 0-0. In France, Lyon were, last time we were across at the Groupama Stadium with Alec Hughes, 2-0 up on fellow strugglers Toulouse. A win today for Lyon. It won't lift them off the bottom of the table, but it will take them to within a point of their nearest rivals, Clermont. And it's looking like a home win is heading their way. Still 2-0 in this one, Alec.
Yeah, it's still 2-0, and well, both sides have had a couple of chances. Lyon have had the better chances. In fact, and Alexander Lacazette has had a chance for a hat-trick not so long ago. Chance fell to him. He nearly helped himself to the hat-trick. He released Nuama on the inside right-hand side, and he has such pace, I can't believe he was even caught, but thought he was. He pulled the ball back to Lacazette, who swiveled and then dragged his shot just past the post with his left foot. And it really was all Lyon for all that time until a couple of moments later when Toulouse carved through the Lyon defence, and it was the third man run from Costa, the Toulouse centre half. He was put in clean on goal with Anthony Lopez, who sped off his line and just made a really good block at the end. So Toulouse are still in this game just purely because Lyon do still look a little bit vulnerable at times, but otherwise they do look in control. So with 75 minutes gone, it is Lyon 2, Toulouse 0.
Let's head back, shall we, to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs, 12 shots, 5 on target. Newcastle, 4 shots, 1 on target. Make it 5, Billy Andrews.
Yeah, it fell to Anthony Gordon, the man in form for Newcastle. It was a lovely whipped cross in by former Spurs man Kieran Trippier. And Anthony Gordon opted to take it on the volley, smacked it high and wide. Just before that was a free kick for Newcastle, but it was easily cleared. But Christian Romero's got to be careful. He's probably racked up all his free passes from referee Chris Kavanagh this evening. Just 2 hands on the back of Almiron and pushed him over. Taken one to the ankle from Joe Linton as he slipped over. So he's got to be careful. He's probably missing one more foul away from that first yellow card. No cards at all today so far from Chris Kavanagh, but Newcastle have a corner. I'll keep you updated, but still, as we're almost 10 minutes into the second half, still 2-0 to Spurs.
Yes, 3 corners for Spurs, 4 for Tottenham, but 2-0 Spurs leading. But good start to the second half from Newcastle United, which has put a slight dampener on John Kane's festive spirit here in the studio. He seems a little bit nervous at the moment, but I'm sure he'll be okay come the end of the show. And Spurs, hopefully for him, have 3 points. So that's our 3 games covered. Let's have a little listen to Roy Hodgson, shall we? He wasn't a very happy man yesterday as Crystal Palace were ahead, ended up losing, late goal, and he had plenty to moan about.
Well, we've had a lot of hard ones to take. This is another one along the way. But I've got to say that I'm gutted for the players, because I'm gutted really about the way the game panned out. I think that having to play the game with 10 men for the last 15-20 minutes was unbelievably harsh on us. I don't believe it was worthy the way we played and the amount of fouls we committed, which were about the same amount as Liverpool's, maybe 1 or 2 less. I don't think we deserve 9 yellow cards. I probably deserve mine. So I'll shrug that off, but that's the way the game is going. I've got to say that, you know, it's saddening for me to watch games like that, where a team does so well as the boys did and work so hard against all the odds and have to come away having lost 2 goals to 1.
That was Roy Hodgson. Palace losing at home yesterday to Liverpool in the Premier League by 2 goals to 1, and that result does leave Crystal Palace down in 15th place, just 4 wins from their 6 games so far, 16 points. They are 7 ahead of the relegation places, which sounds comfortable, but if one of Burnley or Luton or even Sheffield United were to put a run together and they carry on losing, then it would be a bit of a challenge for Crystal Palace going into the second half of the season.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And I can tell you that Lyon have cemented all 3 points with a 3rd goal in the game at the Groupama. It's now Lyon 3, Toulouse nil. They will stay bottom, but they will take all 3 points. And the hero, the match ball, belongs to Alexandre Lacazette. He's just completed his hat-trick in the 80th minute. We'll be across to hear about how that one has been panning out. And the third goal, news of that third goal from Alec Hughes in just a few moments' time. Let's go back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because Tottenham have created a chance, Billy Andrews.
Yeah, they're first to the second half, and it came after their first spell of sustained possession. The ball came out to Pedro Porro. His first cross was blocked by Fabian Schär. It fell to him again. He played it to the edge of the box. It was deflected by a couple of players, and it fell to Yves Bissouma on the edge of the box. He took a first-time shot, bounced in front of Martin Dubravka, and he was able to dive and hold on to it. But a sight of goal for Spurs in the second half. Starting to see more of the ball after Newcastle's early dominance, and Dejan Kulusevski getting involved more as well. But still, as we come up to 58 minutes, still 2-0 to Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
You are listening.
You are listening.
You are listening
to Football Live.
To Football Live.
To Football Live.
On Brila FM.
Yes, quick reminder, next weekend we are back. Football Live returns next weekend at 10 minutes to 4 on Saturday. Chelsea fans will be hopeful that their side can pick up 3 points against bottom of the table Sheffield United at Stamford Bridge. Victor Osimhen and Napoli are up against Cagliari in Italy. Sean Dyche takes his Everton side back to his old club, Burnley. And Newcastle United entertain Crystal Palace with Newcastle in action at home to Fulham. Manchester United. It says Newcastle United here. It's Manchester United entertain Crystal Palace and Newcastle entertain Fulham. That's on Saturday with Josh Bailey. Sunday with Chris Baldwin, who returns Liverpool against Manchester United from Anfield. 7-0 last year, of course. Arsenal at home to Roberto De Zerbi's Brighton and Hove Albion at the Emirates. Two great shows lined up next weekend. Football Live returning to Brila FM. And let's go to Alec Hughes, who can bring us bang up to date with a third goal, and with it a hat-trick for Alexandre Lacazette.
A hat-trick for Alexandre Lacazette is right, and it's surely all done and dusted here. And would you believe it's come from another set piece? To lose at 6s and 7s anytime the big men come forward. And this time a free kick came in from the right-hand side. It was swung in by Max Cacaret, and they nearly scored from that. But the ball was going out for a goal kick. Jake O'Brien kept it alive, but brought it back to Tagliafico, who clipped the ball in. Kadewere nodded the ball back to his fellow substitute Diarra, and he hit it towards goal. The ball bounced up and hit Lacazette, and he was first to react again, and he drilled a left foot shot into the net. It's surely all over here now. 82 minutes gone now. Olympic Lyonnais 3, Toulouse 0.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Only in London do buses come along two at a time. Only in North London do Richarlison goals come along two at a time. It's now Tottenham Hotspur 3, Newcastle United 0. John Kane, our Tottenham Hotspur supporting producer, is doing a jig in the corner of the studio, and little wonder too. Spurs 3, Newcastle 0. It's been a horrible week for Newcastle. I hope it gets better when they take on AC Milan in the week. But Billy Andrews, it's game over now, surely.
Yeah, game over, surely, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's another defensive mix-up from Newcastle United. It's a fantastic ball, it must be said, from Pedro Porro, the right-back, over the top of the Newcastle defence. Jamal Lascelles misses it completely. It falls to Richarlison, takes one touch to take it away from the outcoming Martin Dubravka and slide it into an empty net. Like I said, London buses, you wait ages for them, and then two come along at once like they have for Richarlison and his goals. Incidentally, Jamal Lascelles before that did pick up the first booking of the match for a foul on Son. He stopped a quick counter-attack, and it was that free kick which led to Porro's fantastic over-the-top pass for Richarlison. One touch to take it away, one touch to finish. 60 minutes gone at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Spurs 3, Newcastle 0.
And almost simultaneously with that goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the ball was in the back of the net in our featured game in the Bundesliga at the Rhein Energy Stadium. Still waiting for the first goal in that game. It was in the net. I haven't played the jingle. The reason I haven't played the jingle is because the goal has been disallowed. To tell us all about the disallowed goal, Paul James.
Thanks very much, Barry. Yes, it was a beautiful pass and he was narrowly offside. Burkhardt just got in behind the defence and the finish was exquisite, behind the goalkeeper and into the bottom left-hand corner. But alas, it was offside and by such a narrow amount. And right after that, Jonathan Burkhardt was substituted for Jae-Sung Lee as it's still 0-0 between Cologne and Mainz, Barry.
We thought you had your first goal there, Paul. Sorry, it's been disallowed. We nearly had another goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs have just hit the post, and we'll be across to Billy Andrews to hear about those couple of chances that Spurs have just had in the last few minutes, trying to extend their lead further still in that game. Earlier on today, Everton 2, Chelsea 0, Fulham 5, West Ham 0, Luton Town 1, Manchester City 2. In the Bundesliga, Stuttgart 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1 in the African CAF Confederation Cup Group E match. It's finished. Rivers United 1, the Tunisians Club Africain 0. Let's go to Billy Andrews, who's just seen Spurs hit the woodwork within an inch of it being 4-0.
Yeah, should have been 4-0. Newcastle at 6s and 7s in their own midfield. It's Richarlison again tracking back, who wins the ball, diving in with a tackle to win it back. It falls to Kulusevski. He charges through, plays a lovely weighted pass into Brennan Johnson. First time shot with his right foot, and it cannoned off the joint between the post and the bar. So close to being 4-0. Newcastle can't handle Tottenham at the moment. As Son just goes close, flashed it right across the face of goal, just in front of Brennan Johnson, who was coming in at the back post. Ange Postecoglou's got them playing the way they should, but Newcastle United really struggling. It's Tottenham 3, Newcastle 0.
Thank you very much for that, Billy. And, well, it's looking like a good afternoon for Tottenham Hotspur this afternoon. They are leading by 3-0. Could have been 4. Listen to that John Cain party in the corner there. He's having a great Christmas party. It's come early Christmas for him. Tottenham 3-0 up on Newcastle United this afternoon. Let's hear from Pep Guardiola. His Manchester City side had to do it the hard way earlier on against Luton Town, coming back to win by 2-1.
Problem was against Liverpool and Tottenham. And
well, we've had a lot of hard ones to take. This is another one along the way. But I've got to say that I'm gutted for the players, because I'm gutted really about.
But there are patterns that we never lose, and we make an exceptional first half. And of course, it was a big punch to concede the goal in the edge of at the end of the first half. And we spoke, how we react in that positions that happened in the past, but that is what define big teams, big personalities, big characters, is how rebelling the difficulties. And the second half we play not as much good as the first half, but we scored the goals and really happy for that.
Thank you very much, Pep Guardiola. Seems to be happy in the end. Billy Andrews at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A couple of substitutions for Newcastle United.
Yeah, it's taken 65 minutes and Eddie Howe's finally seen enough from his forward players. He's taken off Alexander Isak and Miguel Almiron. He's brought on Callum Wilson, and there will just be a change of shape as he's brought on Longstaff to replace Almiron, as they're being absolutely dominated in that midfield. See if it makes any changes, but they've got a mountain to climb now. Still, 65 minutes gone, Tottenham very comfortably 3-0 up at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Secure an instant win with NairaBet when your team leads by 2 goals in the match. How many times has one of your betting selections had a meltdown after going 2 goals up? Don't stress. With our new 2 goals up market, if your selection goes 2 or more goals ahead at any stage in the match, then your selection will be settled as a winner, regardless of the final match result. Place your bets on the 2 goals up football market at www.nairabet.com. Include the 2 goals up selections in your bet slip with as many other selections as you want. For more details, check out our promotions page. Full terms and conditions apply. Must be over 18. Bets placed on the match winner market do not qualify. Market available on pre-match bets only. Please gamble responsibly.
you've got your money's worth this afternoon, Jack Hesson.
I absolutely have, Chris. Oh my word, what is going on here? Alexander Isaac makes it 4.
Oh no. Oh.
I need to lie down, I think.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Football Live will be returning to Brila FM next Saturday afternoon when the Premier League will be in full flow once again. Chelsea are in action at Stamford Bridge against bottom of the table Sheffield United. Newcastle United put their excellent home form on the line against Fulham. Champions Manchester City take on Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. And in Italy, Victor Osimhen is in action as Napoli take on Calgary. All that live football action to look forward to next weekend right here on Brila FM on Football Live.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Football Live. Football's never sounded so good on Brila FM every Saturday and Sunday.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Yes, welcome back. Let's head straight back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They are 3-0 up and they're looking for more, aren't they, Billy?
Yeah, Tottenham Hotspur smell blood at home against Newcastle. The first one fell to Dejan Kulusevski. The ball was won by Heung-min Son off of Longstaff. He was claiming for a foul, but there was nothing in it. And one touch out of his feet from Kulusevski, and he fired it, the masked man, but it was well held by Dubravka. The second one fell to Heung-min Son. He's already got 2 assists today. He was looking for a goal for himself. Those dancing feet up against Kieran Trippier once again, but again fired and well held by Dubravka. Newcastle struggling to create anything at the moment. They've got just over 20 minutes to try and cause some sort of upset at Spurs, try and put the cat amongst the pigeons, but at the moment very comfortable for the home side. 3-0 to Spurs.
Yeah, it's looking comfortable for Tottenham, 3-0 up. Talking of 3-0 home cushions, that's how it's finished in the game between Lyon and Toulouse at the Groupama. And to tell us all about it, it's Alec Hughes.
Yeah, that's right. It's finished. Lyon 3, Toulouse 0 here at the Groupama, and this could be a huge result for Lyon, as not only did they get the result they needed, but also the performance was really, really impressive. They're not off the bottom of the table, but if they can produce performances like they did today, it won't be long before they're on the table and out of trouble. They can thank Alexandre Lacazette for giving them victory today. The former Arsenal striker takes home the match ball after he showed lethal instinct and he fired home 3 times from close range. They look comfortable throughout, Lyon, I have to say. In particular, the 2 centre midfielders, Tolisso and Cacaret, really controlled things and are busy and industrious. And they helped keep Toulouse at bay. Toulouse did miss a penalty in the first half, well saved by Anthony Lopez, and Toulouse top scorer Dainga will be going to represent quite tame. But in truth, Lyon controlled the game really, really well, and surely now we're going to be looking up the table and hoping to build on this performance for Christmas. But from the Groupama Stadium, it's finished. Lyon 3, Toulouse 0.
Thank you very much to Alec Hughes on his Football League debut, Football Live debut, which is a Football League debut, Football Live debut this afternoon. Great reporting there, Lyon 3, Toulouse 0. He's brought some good luck to Lyon, who have not had much good luck this afternoon. Former Nigerian international striker Joseph Akpala this week named as the caretaker manager of Belgium Pro League bottom club Kortrijk, but he watched on Friday as they lost at home to fellow strugglers Westerlo 2-1. He'll be hoping he can make an immediate impression and perhaps land the job on a full-term basis. Let's head to Germany, shall we? Köln against Mainz. They're into the last 20 minutes of that game. And last time we were there, it's 0-0. And looks like we're still looking for that first goal, Paul.
Yes, we are, but Florian Dietz had a wonderful chance on the edge of the penalty area. He just cut inside, he got the shot away, it was a clear shot on goal and he pulled it wide. He's still waiting for his first Bundesliga goal this season. And just before you arrived, Barry, another chance crossed in on the far side to Dietz again, whose header was diverted away from the goal when it might have been easier to head it towards the goal. As it stands, it's still 0-0 between Cologne and Mainz. Back to you, Barry.
Thank you very much, Paul. 2 goals from Jurkan Zirkzee have given Bologna 2-0 lead at half-time in Italy against Salernitana. In Spain, Cadiz up against Osasuna by 1-0, half an hour gone in that one. And Anderlecht against Standard Liège going to the home side, 1-0. A goal from Dreyer giving them the lead in that game. Let's head back to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, shall we? Last time we were there, we heard about Tottenham looking for a fourth. A couple of changes taking place at the moment, but Billy, it looks like the competitive side of this game has gone, hasn't it? And they look a very tired side, Newcastle.
Yeah, they look a bit dogged to Newcastle. I think it's just academic now, the last 20 or so minutes of this game. But Joe Linton's the second Newcastle player to go into Chris Kavanagh's notebook, and that was for a foul on Pedro Porro. The ball was whipped in by Kieran Trippier, and he didn't even try to contest with the ball. He just went with 2 hands through the back of Pedro Porro, shoved him to the ground, and Chris Kavanagh brandished his second yellow card of the game. So I think Eddie Howe will be disappointed with how his team's almost capitulated, really. They're not really offered much at all to threaten Newcastle, considering that they both lost in the midweek, and it was clear that there were some weaknesses in that Tottenham side. But we're going to see Pape Sarr and Richarlison replaced by Giovanni Lo Celso and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. So just shoring up that midfield from Ange Postecoglou. But about 17-16 minutes to go. Tottenham Hotspur 3, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, looking good for the home victory there, Tottenham Hotspur. But they still won't be the biggest winners in London this afternoon. Fulham 5, West Ham United 0 earlier on, of course. News coming out of Nottingham Forest. Our sources telling us that the immediate pressure on Steve Cooper, the manager, has eased after that 1-1 draw away at Wolves on Saturday. We did hear from Steve Cooper a little earlier on. Shall we hear from Unai Emery? He's the Aston Villa manager. His Aston Villa side are unbeatable at Villa Park. Manchester City went there Wednesday, couldn't get anything, not even a goal. Arsenal went there yesterday, and although they had their moments, they lost by 1-0 as well.
The atmosphere we're creating here is really brilliant. And we are playing with 11 players and one more is our supporter fans. And today we finished this week really tough matches we played, we faced, and really fantastic to beat those teams like Manchester City and Arsenal, and the draw we did in Bournemouth was really important as well. Sometimes if you can't win, it's important to be strong and to have the mentality. 1 point is coming well, and this is the argue after we won 2 matches here at home.
Let's head back to Germany. Still waiting for that first goal of the afternoon. Paul James against Mainz, but another chance.
Yes, and it fell for Ludovic Djurke again as he got into the penalty area and forced a wonderful save from Marvin Schwab. But it was very close. Schwab drew a lot of luck there. It ran across the face of the goal and towards the goal and was just picked up almost on the goal line by Timo Hubers to clear it away. There has been a substitution since then, and come on as Mark Uth and gone off as Luca Waldschmidt. So still Cologne 0, Mainz 0.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. Still goalless in that game. Lyon have beaten Toulouse 3-0. Just heard from Alec on that game. Good win that for Lyon, but they are still bottom. Lacazette hat-trick, the former Arsenal man. Tottenham 3-0 up on Newcastle. Around about 13, 14 minutes or so remaining in that game. Another victory yesterday for Leicester City in the Championship. We mentioned it earlier. The Nigerian Wilfred Ndidi amongst the goals in a comprehensive 4-0 victory. And that means after 20 games in the Championship, they've got 49 points. Second place, Ipswich, 48 points. Now, both of those have broken the record after 20 games in the Championship, because prior to that, Reading and Wolves on 2 occasions have got 47 points. Sheffield United 46, Newcastle 45 when they come up in 2009-2010. Fulham, they ran away with it a couple of years ago, didn't they? But they did lose quite a few games. They lost about 9 games that season. Scored a lot of goals, and when they were clicking, but it was only 43 points at this stage, 6 less than what Leicester City are on at the moment. Leicester and Ipswich looking very good bets for the 2 automatic promotion places in the Championship. I'm sure there are a few clubs, including Leeds United, that might still have a say on that. Spurs, 20 shots, 10 on target. Newcastle, 7 shots, 1 on target. That seems to be where the problem is, Billy Andrews. The clock is running down, and I would imagine most of these Newcastle players are thinking AC Milan rather than Tottenham Hotspur at the moment.
Yeah, I think they're all looking towards that midweek game. There's a lovely chance for Spurs. It's Pedro Porro's really enjoying himself this afternoon. Lovely cushion touch through the middle of the legs of Lewis Miley. One touch to set himself on a shot, was parried by Dubravka and cleared by Jamal Lascelles. But to give them their credit, the Newcastle fans in full voice, fantastic as always, even though they do have that horrible over 3-hour train journey back from King's Cross later this evening. But they're in full voice. They've been Newcastle's best performers today. The team haven't really offered much on the pitch. Just over 10 minutes to go. Still 3-0 to the home side.
Thank you very much, Billy. I hope they've fixed the overhead line problems, and that line from King's Cross is 3 hours on the trains when they're running. I was up in Leeds yesterday and ended up having a train back, and the power went out on the line, and sat in a train that didn't move an inch for over 3 hours. I got home at 2 o'clock this morning. That was a very pleasant journey, so hopefully the Newcastle fans won't have that to endure. Right, let's head back to Köln against Mainz. We're trying desperately to find a goal for Paul James on his Football Live debut. We are trying. He's played 79 minutes in that game. 10 to go. Still 0-0. But both teams are trying to win this one, aren't they? I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I think if the more likely team to score is Mainz, they're creating the better chances. Of course, Azzurri has had 2 or 3 chances in this game. The most recent one I just mentioned. Dietz has had a couple of chances for Köln from the edge, from just inside the penalty area, which he pulled just wide, and the header across the face of goal. For the moment, Mainz are definitely the better team. I don't see Köln really creating enough to win the game. Of course, the winner of this game will move out of the bottom 3, so the 2 that automatically get relegated and the relegation playoff place as well. But it's still Köln 0, Mainz 0.
Just having a look at it could be a VAR check here at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We'll be hearing from Billy Andrews in a minute. A yellow card has just been shown for a nasty-looking challenge by Christian Romero, who caught Callum Wilson with a really dangerous-looking challenge. I think VAR are going to have a look at it. If he's over the top, he's only just come back from a 3-match ban. And I've got a feeling he's going to go here, because that looks pretty reckless. I've had a couple of little looks at it on the screen to my side here. Billy, to me, that's a red card. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, to me, that is a red card. You could hear the ooh from everyone in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when he went over the top on Callum Wilson. I don't know what Chris Kavanagh saw to only think that was a yellow card. I think it says more about the standards of the referees than it does anything else. But Callum Wilson's on the floor trying to kick the ball away. He's nowhere near it. Christian Romero, it goes completely over the top of the ball and catches the top of the ankle of Callum Wilson. He's trying to get up. He's got all his weight on that. And I do believe VAR have said that's no red card. I think that's absolutely disgusting in VAR. I think it's endangering an opposition player, because you could potentially do damage to your ankle with that. But like I said, Chris Kavanagh already thought it was a yellow, and the standard of refereeing, the VAR, thinks it's also a yellow as well. Tottenham Hotspur and Christian Romero, very, very lucky in my opinion. He'll be on the pitch. 10 minutes to go plus injury time. Still 3-0 to Spurs.
Well, we're both, me and John in the studio, scratching our head on that one, Billy, because that for me is a red card all day long. It's dangerous, it's reckless, he's out of control, ticks all the boxes. Referee only gives a yellow, that's fine, and then VAR have decided that's not the wrong decision, it's not an obvious mistake, and they stick by the yellow card. I just don't get that at all. Two legs as well. I just don't get that. It's, on a weekend when we've almost got through the weekend without VAR making too many headlines. That goes and happens, and then we now see a yellow card for Trippier. He's gone in heavy on Kulishevsky. Not anywhere near as bad as that challenge, by the way, from Romero. So thank you very much, Billy. 3-0 to Tottenham, and they've got a little over 7 minutes to play, plus injury time in that game. We're really trying to get a goal in the Bundesliga against Mainz. Last time we was with Paul James, he told us that Mainz are the likelier, but the hosts, Köln, have just gone and hit the post, haven't they, Paul?
Yes, it was a stupendous effort. It was right on the corner of the penalty area, but also near the touchline. If you were a cynic, you might say this was done quite by accident. But I think he intended it. He shot the ball, it looped over the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper swung a hand at it, but didn't get anywhere near it, and it hit the inside of the post. A quarter of an inch to the right, Barry, we would have had our first goal. As it stands, it's still Köln 0, Mainz 0.
And in the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I can tell you that Tottenham Hotspur have just been awarded a penalty. Son is brought down by Dubravka inside the penalty area. It looks pretty obvious to me at the first sighting. He's gone round the goalkeeper and then he goes down. There seems to be contact, and it's a penalty to Tottenham Hotspur, which Son won and which Son will take. We'll be back over to Billy Andrews to hear about that penalty in just a couple of moments' time. It's Tottenham on the brink of going 4-0 up. His last four penalties have all hit the back of the net. And varied positions as well, Son. So we'll see how he gets on. We'll be back to Billy, and we'll tell you whether that penalty goes in just a few moments' time. So Heung-min Son with a chance to make it 4-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. Elsewhere today, Lyon 3, Toulouse 0 has just finished in our feature game in France. Still 0-0 between Köln and Mainz. And I can tell you, Spurs are now 4-0 up.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
They've certainly put the disappointment of that second half performance against West Ham United in midweek to bed once and for all. Maybe it's their lucky day, not in the fact that they are lucky to be winning 4-0, but they're still lucky to have a full complement of 11 on the pitch. And it's Tottenham Hotspur 4, Newcastle 0. And we are going to be back to Billy Andrews in just a few moments' time. A yellow card in the game in Germany between Köln and Metz. Paul James, that yellow has gone to a Metz player, I understand.
Yeah, Dominic Kor gave a really nasty shove to Florian Detz as they both went up for the in the air for the ball. He just kind of shoved him, and Metz went over, and Kor protested to our referee, Frank Vollenberg, but Vollenberg is a school teacher in his other profession, and he's not having any of that. He shows the yellow card. Still 0-0.
Still 0-0 on that one. Plenty of goals at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and to tell us about the latest goal, a fourth goal for Tottenham Hotspur, is Billy Andrews.
An emphatic penalty from Heung-min Son to give him his 10th goal of the season. It was him who won the penalty after being fouled by Dubravka, and Dubravka almost got to this one. Bottom right hand corner of the goal. Stuttering run up from Son. 2 assists and a goal today. The wheels have come off for Newcastle really this game. It's back-to-back defeats for Eddie Howe's side. Ange Postecoglou calm and collected on the touchline with his celebrations. He won't be getting carried away. But it's time to party at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's Spurs 4, Newcastle 0.
Christmas time is for giving out presents, and NairaBet are giving away up to 91,500 Naira in free bets. To enter, just place a bet with the same number of selections as the day of the month. It is that easy. So on the 24th of December, if you place a bet with 24 selections, you will receive up to a 250% match of your stake as a free bet. Head over to www.nairabet.com to get involved today. Must be over 18. Minimum odds per selection of 1.2. Minimum total bet slip odds of 1.5. Qualifying bets must be settled on that specific day. General and free bet terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
Okay, guys, welcome to the weekly Football Live production meeting. I've got a great idea. We go out and we ask all the top football managers what they think of the show. Let's do this.
Jurgen Klopp, are you a fan of Football Live?
It's super. It's just super. It's really a top.
Mikel Arteta, how good is Football Live?
I've been really impressed.
Pep, Football Live love you, but do you love Football Live?
They are unique and I enjoy a lot.
Sean Dyche, do you listen to Football Live, the greatest football show on earth?
What you're talking about now. They know and I know, and you probably do know, they've made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Okay, so we need to work on Sean Dyche.
Football Live will be returning to Brila FM next Saturday afternoon, when the Premier League will be in full flow once again. Chelsea are in action at Stamford Bridge against bottom of the table Sheffield United. Newcastle United put their excellent home form on the line against Fulham. Champions Manchester City take on Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. And in Italy, Victor Osimhen is in action as Napoli take on Calgary. All that live football action to look forward to next weekend right here on Brila FM on Football Live.
The goals, the team news, all the updates, all the key action, scores from around Europe's top leagues, exclusive interviews, breaking news.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Barry Swain.
Yes, Tottenham Hotspur 4-0 up, and it was very nearly 5. We'll head back to Billy Andrews to tell us all about that in just a few moments' time. We are into the last procession of the afternoon. We've got about 13 minutes of the show left. There's a minute of the 90 to be played at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. All bets are off. Tottenham Hotspur are on their way to an emphatic victory against Newcastle United this afternoon, and well deserved too. Let's head back to Billy Andrews, shall we? Billy, it's been comprehensive. It could have been more, and Tottenham will be very happy with the way in which things have gone after an indifferent few weeks for them.
Yeah, they have suffered with the injuries to their key players like James Maddison, who's watching on from the director's box today. But Son did just put it inches wide. A lovely ball in from Oliver Skipp. He got his touch out and sped away from Jamal Lascelles. He's had a pretty poor afternoon, I should say, and it was just always curling away from Martin Dubravka's goal. Oliver Skipp had a chance to score, but he fired it straight at Dubravka. And in the meantime, Brian Hill and Oliver Skipp have come on to replace Johnson and Basuma. And Emil Krafth has come on to replace Kieran Trippier, who's had a pretty horrid previous 2 games. But he is a senior player, a very good player for Newcastle, so I don't think Eddie Howe will be dropping him anytime soon. Just needs to concentrate more when he's got defending to do, which sounds weird because he is a defender. But going into injury time, comprehensive win for Tottenham today. They're 4-0 up at home to Newcastle United.
Despite 2 goals from Richarlison this afternoon, Heung-min Son has been named the man of the match, and he's just being replaced in injury time by the youngster Jamie Donnelly, who will go straight into the attack for a few minutes at least. A yellow card in the game between Köln and Mainz in Germany. There are 4 minutes injury time, and we're still looking for that first goal, aren't we, Paul?
Yeah, still looking for the first goal, Barry, but it seems that the two teams are perhaps getting a little frustrated with each other. Mark Uth this time got the yellow card, and this time the victim of it was Dominic Kor. He was having his shirt pulled by Uth, and the referee shown the yellow card. The second yellow card was for the Mainz captain, Sylvain Widmer, got right in the face of the referee, and it's still 0-0 here, Barry.
Still 0-0 there. We've got another goal in the game in the Premier League.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And I can tell you it's gone through into the back of the net from Joel Linton. A goal back for Newcastle United. Teed up nicely by Callum Wilson, and his shot beyond Vicario and into the corner of the net. It's going to be checked by VAR, given how they made a mess of their last decision. The yellow card that somehow wasn't upgraded to a red card. I'm not quite sure what they're going to come up with here. It looks like the goal is going to stand. Are they still looking? The goal is given, and it is 4-1. And Billy Andrews, another goal for you to tell us all about.
Yeah, nothing but a consolation, but it's given those travelling Newcastle fans, those fantastic travelling fans, something to cheer in that away end at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's a bit of a mess from Spurs, really. It's Ben Davies gives the ball away. It's intercepted by Longstaff. It falls to Callum Wilson. He plays it across to Joe Linton, first time into the bottom right-hand corner. He does like a goal against Spurs. I always remember he got the winner on his debut after he signed from Hoffenheim. He was a striker back then, but Eddie Howe likes him in central midfield. Lovely tee-up from Callum Wilson, who was the player being checked for offside. But a clinical finish from Joe Linton. Nothing more than a consolation. 93 minutes on the clock. Tottenham Hotspur 4, Newcastle United 1.
Yeah, goal back for Newcastle United. Too little too late, really, but good finish from Joel Linton. Deep into stoppage time in both of our featured games that are currently running. Tottenham 4, Newcastle 1, Cologne 0, Mainz 0 in a battle between two sides currently in the bottom three of the Bundesliga. And yeah, well, let's catch up, shall we? We've had a little chat in the corner here with John Kane. John, it's been very comprehensive, I think it's fair to say, this afternoon from Tottenham Hotspur. Really good showing from them.
Yeah, they has, hasn't it? And sort of is completely different team in the second half that we've seen against West Ham in midweek. The first half in both games, Spurs played really well, and they should have taken their chances. I think taking that second goal in the first half make a big difference for Tottenham, because really have to give Newcastle something to push for, and that was going to create gaps eventually in the end. When it was 1-0 against West Ham, West Ham still had that belief, didn't they, that they can come back and at least get an equaliser. But when you're 2-0 down at half time, it's never that easy. But all credit to Spurs today. They got the 3 points, and deservedly as well. The second half has been absolutely brilliant from them in comparison with the second half against West Ham, and it keeps them fifth and push them away from Man United, and still keep them 3 points behind Manchester City. So, and when you look at the table, obviously they won that game by the looks of it, but they're only 7 points behind Liverpool. So it's not a bad season after all for Tottenham, considering it's Ange Postecoglou's first few months in charge. So no complaints from Spurs fans, I'm sure.
Yeah, 4-1 up. I can tell you the final whistle has blown in the game in Germany. Köln 0, Mainz 0. We'll be across to hear all about that with our reporter at that game, Paul James, in just a few moments' time. John, while you're on, we spoke about Manchester City early, good win for them, but for Chelsea, another defeat away at Everton. And just quickly, that's a disappointing defeat for them, isn't it?
Absolutely. It hasn't been a good week for them, isn't it? They lost to Manchester United. They lost to Everton away as well. It hasn't been a good trip, haven't it, over this week. But you look at Chelsea and you think, all that money that has been spent over the last winter transfer and during the summer, it comes over £1 billion on players. Now, you just have to ask a question, don't you? Is it a matter of time for them to gel with each other, or is it really not the right players that brought in? I mean, I just can't help but always said that Enzo Fernandez, he's a good player, but they spent 120 million on him or so. But he only played half a season with Benfica. But him winning the World Cup obviously gave quite a lot of sort of hopes on him being a youngster. Likewise with Jackson, Nicholas Jackson, you know, and I watched him for Villarreal last season quite a few times, and he's not that superstar, you know, and from my point of view. And Modric again, you know, You just trying to think. I'm trying to really put a logic into it of how they spend that money on these players when they probably could have got less than that, but at least a proven world-class players, and from the Premier League as well. I'm sure there'd be available players in the Premier League to spend that money on.
Absolutely. Let's head to Germany. Unfortunately, no goals for Paul James this afternoon on his Football Live debut. An interesting game down at the bottom, but it's ended goalless between Cologne and Mainz, hasn't it, Paul?
Yeah, goalless, but not without entertainment, Barry. I mean, both teams had really good chances during the game. Dietz had a couple of chances for Cologne in the second half. One where he got into the penalty area, got the shot away, he pulled it wide. Certainly he should have done better. The second attempt with the header was directed away from goal rather than at the goal. Of course, we did have the ball in the net. Jonathan Burkhardt got through, but he was just offside. He took the ball nicely past Marvin Schwab, right into the left-hand corner. It was unlucky for him. He was only marginally offside. And of course, we have Ajorque having a chance, just narrowly forcing a save out of Schwab, but it just narrowly moved away from the goal, didn't go in the goal. And of course, we had that wonderful effort from Jan Thielmann from the touchline on the corner of the penalty area, curling it away from the goalkeeper and hitting the inside of the post. So it's not been without entertainment. But yes, you're looking at two teams out of form at the bottom of the table, and it finishes Cologne 0, Mainz 0.
Thank you very much, Paul. Excellent reporting there on that game in the Bundesliga. Let's head down to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, shall we? Catch up with Billy Andrews. Billy, that final whistle has been sounded. Comprehensive is a word that I think we've already used this afternoon, but it fully sums up Tottenham's performance.
Yeah, comprehensive win for Spurs at home against Newcastle, bouncing back from that defeat to West Ham in midweek. 26 minutes on the clock is when Destiny Udogie got his first Tottenham goal after a low-driven cross from Heung-min Son on the left-hand side. That was his first assist of the day. The second came for Richarlison. Another mistake from Kieran Trippier. Got all confused by the dancing feet of Heung-min Son. Fired across, and there was Richarlison to tap it in for his first goal in 19 appearances for Spurs. And after the second half, well, we said it, they're like London buses goals for Richarlison. 2 came in one game. After 60 minutes, he was there to tap in again past Martin Dubravka. And they could have gone down to 10 men. Arguably should have gone down for 10 men after a horror tackle from Christian Romero. But VAR and Chris Kavanagh, the referee, in agreement that it should only be a yellow card. And moments after that, Heung-min Son ran through clear, was taken down by Martin Dubravka, and put the penalty into the bottom left-hand corner for his goal and his 10th of the season. Consolation for those travelling Newcastle fans who face the train back to Newcastle this evening. Joe Linton got a goal on 91 minutes, but it's 2 defeats in a row for Eddie Howe's side. But Tottenham bounced back. It finished at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs 4, Newcastle 1.
Thank you very much, Billy. Great reporting this afternoon. 5 goals for him to preside over in the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's been another very eventful weekend on Football Live. You know what? Yesterday, Liverpool struck late to win 2-1 at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. Mo Salah's 200th goal for Liverpool in that game. We heard from him earlier. Bottom club Sheffield United stay bottom despite a win over Brentford. It's finished 1-1 between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Nottingham Forest in the Midlands derby. And Brighton came back with a late equaliser to draw with Burnley 1-1. At Villa Park, Aston Villa beating Arsenal 1-0. They are genuine title contenders. That was yesterday. Today, Everton 2, Chelsea 0. Another win for Sean Dyche's Everton. Since that 10-point deduction, they have pulled themselves out of the bottom 3 with some excellent results, and another one this afternoon at Goodison Park. Fulham have beaten West Ham 5-0, following up a 5-0 home win against Nottingham Forest. Luton 1, Manchester City 2, 1-0 to Luton at half-time, but City come back to win. And in the late kick-off, Tottenham Hotspur 4, Newcastle United 1. 2 for Richarlison as Spurs get back to winning ways. Our featured games in Bundesliga: Stuttgart 1, Leverkusen 1, and also level between Köln and Mainz at 0-0. Thank you very much for listening this afternoon. Be sure to join us again on Football Live on Brilla FM next Saturday afternoon.